subscribe, like the video, and, if possible, join Patreon. But if you don't have much money, you can support the channel by watching the novels on euroaudiobooks.com. Remember that you can participate in the polls so that your favorite novel gets published for free.
Who is aiming to sweep across the West, has no time to flirt with girls. Nobita is seen carrying 2 toy guns and planning to go and suppress bandits and make a name for himself. Fortunately, Beth reminded him in time and helped Nobita return a piece. It is impossible to become famous now, so I can only develop the business of the Sea King. The world of the Sea King. Arthur looked at the screen with a confused face. He didn't understand why they were talking about Nobita all of a sudden. What about the business of the Sea King? As the Sea King, why didn't he understand what this meant? Since Nobita is very popular with women in the novel, Beth and Nobita quickly became friends. She told Daxiong that the town was about to fall. Not only had 18 well-known sheriffs been defeated here, even the elders who built this town are leaving, although the mayor tried his best to keep him. Human nature is like that. Even if there are many people, it will be useless if they are not united. Are you going to leave? Duent joke. The mayor looked at the man sitting in the carriage with a pleading look on his face. Even in the face of the mayor's plea, the man did not hesitate and said decisively, "Mayor, don't stop me. I can't stay in this small town any longer." A trace of anger appeared on the mayor's face. "If we do this, won't it be exactly what those bad guys want? We should unite to protect." But before he could finish his words, the other party impatiently said, "That's impossible. They hired dozens of desperate criminals. We are no match for them. You should also leave as soon as possible to escape. This is the best policy." After saying that, he stopped talking nonsense with the mayor and drove his family out of the town in a carriage. In the world of Naruto, in the Pure Land, Uchiha Madara snorted coldly, and a trace of disdain appeared on his cold face. What a bunch of cowards! They didn't even have the courage to resist, and just gave up their hometown. How ridiculous! Hearing Uchiha Madara's words, Senju Hashirama scratched his head and laughed. "Madara, I didn't expect you to still be so sharp-tongued. But they're just ordinary people after all. Even ninjas don't have the courage to face death. You are really making things difficult for the common people." Nobita was so scared that he wanted to leave. But then he thought, wasn't the purpose of his coming here to prove himself? Then, Brother Xiong directly recommended himself and claimed that he was willing to serve as the 19th sheriff. "Hey boy, did you drink? Even if you are willing, we are not. This is embarrassing." But since the other party has already rejected it, Nobita can just run away. However, when Nobita returned to the cemetery and wanted to leave in a time machine, but suddenly I realized that I seemed to have forgotten to step on the brake when I got off the car. 22nd century, hey. Dorame sighed, her face full of helplessness. "Nobita is always so careless. It really makes people worry. It would be terrible if something happened to him in the West." This is not like the robbers in the previous video. Those horse bandits in the West are all guys who kill without blinking an eye. Hearing Dorami's words, Sharpshooter touched the back of his head and felt a little embarrassed. After all, Nobita is his great-grandfather. "Don't worry, Grandpa will be fine. I believe him. I hope my brother can find him soon." At last, Nobita, who couldn't find his time machine, came to the mayor's office. Seeing a brand new revolver on the table, Nobita couldn't help but start playing with it excitedly. Suddenly, gunshots rang out outside. An unlucky extra was caught with a rope by a bandit and dragged along by a horse. The scene was simply terrifying. The inhumane atrocities made Miss Beth unable to help but call for a halt. The extra who was dragged took the opportunity to escape, leaving Miss Beth alone to face the criminals. Seeing the sheep fall into the tiger's mouth is about to happen Nobita and Nobi's sense of justice suddenly. He rushed out of the room with the mayor's revolver without saying a word. When Miss Beth was about to be bullied, Nobi Poseidon plays a hero to save the beauty. On the screen, stop. Nobita held the revolver in one hand and shouted at the bandits. Your opponent is me, Daxiong." Beth was stunned, not understanding why Nobita, who should have left, appeared here. Hearing Nobita's voice, the 2 horse bandits stopped their actions and turned their heads. After seeing that the person coming was just a kid, They showed contempt on their faces. They sneered, "What? Just a kid. Little devil, this is not a game. Go home quickly." Nobita said nothing, staring at the two bandits, his eyes full of determination. This made the two bandits suddenly serious. "If you hinder us, even if you are a little devil, we will not show mercy." A bandit yelled and threw Beth away. "Stop it, please." The mayor rushed over and tried to stop it, but it was too late. Nobita and the two bandits were facing each other. The atmosphere between the two sides was very similar to the atmosphere of the duel between the bandits and the sheriff at the beginning. Beth and the mayor were watching this scene with worried eyes. Whoa! A horse roared. It was like a horn for a duel. Nobita and the two bandits drew their pistols in an instant. However, Nobita was one step faster and fired first. Two bullets flew out of the muzzle and hit the pistols of the two bandits with great accuracy. The huge force made the wrists of the two bandits tremble, and the pistols in their hands flew out directly. Bang! Both of them fell to the ground, looking at Nobita with fear in their eyes. "Give. Remember this." After leaving such a cruel word, he fled in a panic without looking back. Obviously, the winner of this battle is Nobita. Post views 43. Check out the title King Daxiong. All the characters in the world are Num Chapter 053, Chapter 53. Nobita's terrifying shooting skills can win even without hurting anyone. Doraemon universe. Nobita's house, win winner. Doraemon, Sunio, Fat Tiger, and Shizuka all stared blankly at Nobita standing in the picture. They were so shocked that they couldn't even speak clearly. Then they looked towards Nobita at almost the same time. "Nobita, you are so cool. This is a real gun, and you actually won." "Yes, is this a real Western cowboy showdown? It's really scary. I almost couldn't breathe after watching it just now." "Not only did you win, but you also won in a one-on-two situation. Nobita, I used to think that you were only good at shooting, but now it seems that you are quite courageous." Super Beast World. Oh shit, this Nobita is quite fierce. Huolin Fei raised his eyebrows and looked at the picture in surprise. Miao Tiaojia nodded. Nobita is just an elementary school student, but he can experience so many things. Isn't he the legendary protagonist? Huolin Fei, I think you should give your catchphrase to Nobita. What's the catchphrase? Huolin Fei was stunned and didn't react for a while. Oh no. Miao Tiaojuan was speechless, glanced at him, and said, "It's the same old saying that when the enemy meets me, they either flee or are defeated miserably. I think it might be better to give it to Nobita. Every time you say this, you are always beaten up by the enemy, and you have to travel through time and space to save you." Hearing Miao Tiaojuan's words, Tianyu, Long Ji, and others beside him couldn't help but laugh. "Hey, fatty, this guy is really asking for a fight." Huolin Fei was a little annoyed. Miao Tiaojuan's words made him lose face. 853. He thought about it carefully, and it seemed to be just as the fat man said. "Call, how can Nobita do such a dangerous thing?" After seeing that Nobita was safe, Nobi Tamako was relieved and wiped the sweat from her forehead. Just now, when she saw Nobita and the bandits fighting with guns, she was almost scared to death. Her face turned pale and lost its color. Even though she knew that her son was a sharpshooter and that his shooting skills were very accurate. But as a mother, she would never let Nobita do such a dangerous thing. "I must talk to him when I get home later." In the 13th district of the Spell World, Sheriff Black looked at Nobita in the picture with appreciation. This Nobita is a very good candidate. As a sheriff, he knew that shooting accurately and having the courage to shoot were two completely different things. Some people, even if they were very accurate, were only brave enough to shoot at targets. It was very rare to see someone like Nobita, who was so young and dared to stand up and fight against the bandits. So, he was very optimistic about this boy. If they were not in the same world, he would definitely recruit Nobita and train him well to become a talent for his 13th district. The video on the screen continued to play. In this way, Nobita not only scared away the bandits with his amazing marksmanship, but also captured Beth's heart. Now, a mocking scene appeared. It turns out that the residents of the town have always been there, but they don't have the courage to face the criminals. They hide in their homes and watch the fight between Nobita and the criminals. Beth stepped forward with tears in her eyes to thank Nobita, but Nobita was just a child after all. The real gun duel frightened him again, but fortunately, she fainted in Beth's warm embrace, which made people envious. After a while, Nobita woke up. The residents of the town are trying to use their righteous appearance to talk about freedom and justice, and let Nobita serve as a sheriff to protect their safety, and claimed that they would fight with Nobita. Only Beth was squeezed behind the crowd, looking at Nobita with worry. That group of villagers is too abominable. Kara frowned and looked at the residents in the picture with disgust in her blue eyes. She could not accept the disgusting behavior of the villagers at all. It's obviously their own town, but they actually want to force Nobita to stay and protect them, and they keep talking about justice. It's really unbearable. Hearing this, the doctor hummed and said, "You're right. Putting hope on a primary school student. These people are really hopeless. Such a big town, there is not even a man of steel. It's really sad. Conan World, this is too much." Xiaolan couldn't help but say, "Nobita is just a child. How could these residents do this? How can you let a little kid fight against those ruthless bandits?" As a modern person, Xiaolan couldn't understand the thoughts of the residents in the picture. Yes, these guys are just looking for an outsider who is willing to stand up for them. Kagoro shook his head and sneered. Now, they keep saying that they will fight with Nobita, but when the war starts, they will definitely run away one by one. If these guys were really willing to fight, I'm afraid this town wouldn't have fallen to this point. Now, I just hope that Nobita can see this clearly and just abandon this damn town and run away. That would be the best strategy. But before Nobita could agree, the bandits stopped him and broke the glass with their guns, threatening those who were making bold statements. In just a moment, all the residents who had just claimed to fight alongside Nobita, except for the mayor, disappeared without a trace. In Conan's world, Kagoro curled his lips speechlessly. He seemed to have overestimated the character of these residents. They were scared and fled before the battle even started. It seems that this town is already terminally ill and there is no cure. The mayor, who was used to this kind of scene, picked up the letter nailed to the wall. This is the declaration of war from the Horse Bandit organization to invade the town tonight. In the picture, Nobita sat on a bench, looking at the empty room, and sighed softly. At last, or he ran away. Miss Beth stepped forward, her face still gentle, but her brows were filled with helplessness. There's nothing we can do about it. Everyone is scared. There is nothing we can do. Nobita stood up immediately, with a rare look of anger on his face. Am I not afraid? Aren't Miss Beth and the mayor afraid? Nobita lowered his head and said in self-abandonment, I think it's better to abandon such a ruthless city. Happy Grey World. Listening to Nobita's words, Grey Wolf nodded with satisfaction. You're absolutely right. There's really no need to stay in a town like this. The residents here are hopeless. Even if they are helped to resist the bandit organization this time, they will still be like this if another criminal gang comes later. As long as they have the courage to resist with Nobita, even if they really fail in the end, I still admire them. Returning to the light curtain, Beth is kind-hearted, and she thinks people are behaving like this out of fear. In Nobita's opinion, there is no need to protect such a town without friendship. After hearing this, the mayor and Beth were speechless. They all understand the truth. But this town was built bit by bit from a wasteland with the efforts and perseverance of 2 generations of the mayor and his son. At the same time, this town also has a special meaning for Miss Beth. Miss Beth took Daddy's pants off and Grandpa's hat was given to Nobita as a talisman. Just when Nobita imagined himself as a cowboy and was fantasizing about sweeping the West, Miss Beth said no. She thought it was unreasonable to let Nobita fight against the bandits for them. Just when I wanted to persuade Nobita to escape, the enemy had already arrived. Nobita asked Beth to trust him, and then followed the mayor out to fight the horse bandits. Midnight, the leader of the bandit organization, led 300 bandits to destroy the town of Mogo. On the roof, the mayor and Nobita were ready, but when they were about to take action, Nobita froze and hesitated to take action. Please calm down here. Nobita, and don't criticize him. He is just an elementary school student after all. It would be the same no matter who goes there. Seeing this, except for some guys with weird personalities, most people in the world can understand Nobita's feelings. After all, the other side has a large number of people, as many as 300, and each of them has a real pistol in his hand. Looking at Nobita's side, there are only him and the mayor. The gap is really huge. In addition, because of the disgusting behavior of the residents before, no one blamed Nobita for anything. Humph, when the final battle came, those residents were still hiding in their rooms. What a bunch of hopeless cowards, letting an old man and a child fight against 300 horse bandits armed to the teeth while you hide in the dark and watch, is simply too shameless. As expected, what Nobita said makes sense. There is no need to save a town like this. I think I should just run away. Staying here would be just waiting for death, and I wouldn't feel any guilt. But I remember that at the beginning it was said that Nobita would sweep across the entire West and fight against 300 horse bandits alone. This should be the battle he was referring to. But why can't I see any possibility of winning? Can I really win? Indeed, from what I have seen so far, they really couldn't see the possibility that Nobita could win. The two sides were not only inferior in terms of numbers, but also in equipment. And Nobita seemed to be frightened now. How could he win? Everyone looked at the screen with doubts and expectations, wanting to see what Nobita did to turn this impossible situation into victory. In the light curtain, suddenly, Nobita saw two bandits sneaking onto the roof and trying to attack the mayor from behind. At the critical moment, Nobita fired several shots and accurately hit the mayor's ammunition box. The scatter bullets caused the bandits to slide off the roof. Nobita finally reacted and thought that as long as he didn't hit anyone, it would be fine. Nobita threw the pistol to the mayor and asked the mayor to help him load the bullets, while he was about to put on a feast of shooting skills. No longer was there confusion and fear in Nobita's eyes, but a firm look instead. It was like he had become a different person, looking at the densely packed, fierce horse bandits in front of him. He pulled the trigger without hesitation and fired decisively. Bang, 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 bang. Even if it was pitch black around him, Nobita's bullets could hit the target accurately. But he was not shooting at the enemy, but at an object. Two shots destroyed the platform support, causing the evil thief on the platform to fall to the ground. One shot knocked down the billboard and hit the enemy's head hard. Another shot hit the iron barrel, causing the surrounding horses to be frightened and run around, forcing the enemy to be chased by the horses. Just like that, even though Nobita didn't hit the enemy with a single shot, he made the enemy easily lose its combat effectiveness and unable to move. The difficulty is even higher than directly hitting the opponent, because to accomplish this requires not only superb marksmanship, but also extremely keen observation of the surrounding environment. It's hard to believe that this person is just a child. Resident Evil World. Looking at Nobita's outrageous shooting skills in the picture, oh my god. Alice felt a little confused. She even suspected that Nobita had been injected with a T virus like her. This seems like something a normal person can't do, not to mention that Nobita is just a child. I am afraid even fairy tales wouldn't dare to write this. What the hell? Can you still play like this? At this moment, 4.5 Zhang Chulan was completely confused by Nobita's brain circuit. Since he didn't have the courage to shoot and kill people, he didn't kill them. He just needed to use other things around him to make those horse bandits lose their fighting ability. Although it sounds simple, the difficulty is really frightening, and the picture is still at night. I have to say that the title of Sharpshooter is indeed correct. Susin chuckled and said, "How confident must one be in one's marksmanship to come up with this method? Haha, this Nobita is so interesting." Susi laughed. Nobita is really getting more and more beyond his expectations. Doraemon Universe. Nobita's home. Nobita, you can actually do something like this? Fat Tiger and the others looked at Nobita in shock. Their mouths opened so wide that they could almost fit a watermelon in them. There's no other way. Let someone shoot someone and I really can't do this. Nobita touched his head and said with a smile, "That's right. Think about it carefully. When Nobita fought with the two horse bandits before, he only knocked out their pistols, but didn't hit them. After hearing what Nobita said, Doraemon rubbed his chin for a while and recalled the scene of Nobita fighting with the horse bandits before. But it's normal. If there really was a scene of corpses everywhere, it would be too scary. Doraemon and the others could understand that it was scary just to think about it, let alone see it with their own eyes. Besides, if Nobita really killed someone, given his kind nature, he would definitely feel guilty for a long time, even if the other person was a vicious horse bandit. Post views 44. Check out the title King Daxiong. All the characters in the world are Num Chapter 054, Chapter 54. The end of the Gunslinger legend, Patrick's monologue, a story about a normal person. The video on the light screen is still playing. The entire bandit organization, including the boss, was stunned. And Nobita was targeted by the opponent's sniper because of his outstanding performance. But just when the sniper was about to pull the trigger, Beth hit him hard from behind. However, the next second, Beth was also caught by the bearded man of the horse bandit organization. In order to save Beth, Nobita and the mayor resolutely dropped their weapons. Nobita tried to use his life to implement his kind principles at the critical moment of life and death. Two figures resembling raccoons appeared. Nobita fell to the ground and found that he was not injured. He found that the bullets became very slow. It was Fatty Blue and Doraemon. Using the time stopper, he saved Nobita. It turned out that these two raccoon cats came at dusk. Doraemon Universe. Nobita's home, hello. Who is a raccoon cat? I am a cat-shaped robot from the 22nd century. Doraemon couldn't sit still when he heard the people in the video calling him a raccoon cat. He could still tolerate being called a blue fat man, but he hated it the most when people called him a raccoon cat. Don't be angry, Doraemon. Everyone immediately comforted him. So awesome. Uncle Long, Doraemon actually has a time stopper. Xiaozi's eyes flashed, and she said excitedly. Chen Long touched his head. Although he was surprised, it seemed reasonable. After all, he even had a time machine, so it was not unacceptable to have a time stopper. I found that Doraemon seems to have a lot of powerful props. Calulus suddenly said, think about the famous sword electric pill at the beginning, and this time stopper, even the time machine and the translator konjac, should be his. 13, yes, Xiaozhi nodded. What is the identity of this Doraemon? He actually has so many powerful props. If I can have such a Pokemon, Xiaozhi couldn't help but fantasize. Achieta and Calulu on the side had black lines on their faces. This guy is really good at fantasizing. The reason why he didn't show up was that the blue fat man wanted to teach Nobita a painful lesson, and the blue fat man wanted Nobita to prove himself. Perhaps this is the only stage where Nobita can best display his talents. Doraemon gave the sleeping gun to Nobita, but Nobita gave the horse bandits to Doraemon, because he is going to deal with the leader of the horse bandit organization. Nobita originally wanted to have a fair duel, but the bandit leader did not follow the ethics of martial arts. However, facing Nobita, who has sublimated tonight, any conspiracy seems very childish. Nobita put away his gun in a way that ordinary people could hardly do and realized the end of this farce. In the picture, Tartar Daxiong, Beth's voice rang out. Daxiong turned his head and saw Beth running towards him. The next second, Daxiong felt his body soften and he was already tightly hugged by Beth. Even the faint fragrance emanating from Beth's body, Daxiong could smell it clearly. Tarxiong, Tarxiong. Beth kept shouting the name that Nobita told her, and her strength increased a little bit. Carry Miss Beth. Nobita's face flushed instantly, and his head felt a little dizzy. At Shizuka's home, Shizuka's mother glanced at Shizuka's father and said, what did I say? A boy like Nobita will definitely be liked by many girls in the future. Look, here it is. And this Beth looks no worse than our Shizuka. This. Shizuka's father was speechless, looking at Nobita in Beth's arms. He was actually a little envious. Cough, cough, but he quickly came to his senses, coughed twice, and put on a serious expression. Even so, I believe that Nobita will definitely choose our Shizuka. Crayon Shin-chan world. Oh, I'm so envious. I also really want to get a hug from a beautiful big sister. Shinnosuke twisted his body and looked at Nobita in the picture with envy on his face. Good. I've decided that I'm going to learn shooting in the future. Shinnosuke suddenly stood up, raised his fist, and shouted. Hearing what Shinnosuke said, Noera, Hiroshi, and Missy were speechless. Hey, you said before that you wanted to learn kendo. Why did you suddenly change to shooting now? Shinnosuke answered decisively. Because if you learn shooting, you can get the love of beautiful big sister. Learning shooting doesn't mean you can get girls' love. Otherwise, your dad would have learned it when he was young. Guangji shook his head and complained. Besides, you are just like your mother. You are always hot-tempered. Hearing this, Shinnosuke touched his head and said shyly, Hey, it's not as good as you say. I'm not praising you. Guangji shouted helplessly. Hey, when did I become a 3-minute hot person? Maya raised her eyebrows and stared at Guangji. Oh no, Miss Beth, I really envy that brat Nobita. Sanji clenched his fists, tears streaming down his face. Of course, they were tears of envy and jealousy. Damn it, he is just a brat, but he is more popular with women than me. Really? Nami smiled softly. A hero saves a beauty. It is hard for ordinary little girls to resist. Even when Luffy put the straw hat on her head and said he was going to find the dragon, she was so handsome that she couldn't forget it until now. But then came, it's the small-town residents who changed their minds according to the situation. Not to mention Nobita, even I want to say something to them. In the picture, looking at the townspeople cheering for him, Nobita was not happy at all, only angry. He finally couldn't hold back his emotions and yelled, Shut up everyone! You guys were here before, but you pretended not to see it. Even though there are only 2 of them, the mayor and Miss Beth are working hard to protect this town. But you, the blue fat man patted Nobita on the shoulder and did not let Nobita continue speaking. Because human nature is like that. Not everyone is a hero, although they don't even have the courage to be human. Nobita finally leaves in a time machine. The town of Moko in the 19th century. Only the legend of the lone sharpshooter, the final scene, is frozen in. Beth held the cowboy hat left by Nobita in her hand, tears rolling down her cheeks as she looked at the starry sky. Then the video screen dimmed. The video has ended. Characters being cleared. Rewards are being cleared. The reward has been issued. Please check it out. It's over. Is this the sharpshooter? Nobita is really amazing. Miyako put her hands on her chest, one up and one down, with strange colors flashing in her eyes. I have to say, in the 3 videos just now, Nobita is so handsome. Whether it was hitting all 6 shots and winning first place, or being calm and collected, facing the robbers and rescuing Shizuka, or sweeping across the West single-handedly and defeating a bandit organization of 300 people, every video left a deep impression on her. Nobita, I underestimated him before. Reverend Moon sighed and said slowly, Those small-town residents are disgusting. Even if they were mine, I probably wouldn't want to save them. Tian Xiaoban said unhappily. He was almost vomiting blood because of the group of small-town residents. He only dared to hide in the room and didn't even have the courage to face the enemy. Even if they came out to cheer for Nobita, he wouldn't be so angry. They definitely can't defend the town with these guys. Even if they drive away this group of horse bandits, there will be another group of horse bandits. Without Nobita, the end of this town is definitely unthinkable. Tian Mark shook his head. Although he could understand the fear of death of the townspeople, he still felt it was stupid. Hey, it's a pity for Miss Beth and the mayor to have such a resident. Xiaowen thought of Beth in the picture just now and shook his head. Miss Beth is so pitiful. Nobita left just like that. I thought he would take Miss Beth with him. Mimi wiped the tears from the corners of her eyes and said with a sob. Tai shook his head. This is impossible. Miss Beth is not from Nobita's era. And with Miss Beth's personality, I'm afraid she won't abandon this town and fly away with Nobita. That's right, and Nobita also has a Shizuka. Koshiro nodded. Doraemon Universe. Mogo Town in the 19th century. Hey. Looking at the video on the screen, the mayor sighed deeply, not knowing what he was thinking. Beth looked helpless. Dad, what should we do? The mayor shook his head. I don't know. In the video, Nobita came to help us, but after seeing the faces of the residents, I'm afraid Nobita won't come again. He was actually very angry at the residents' failure to resist, but even though he was the mayor, he could do nothing. He could only watch the town he and his father built gradually weaken under his hands. In fact, it's better if Nobita doesn't come. Beth smiled bitterly. It's obviously our own business, but he has to bear the danger. It's so unfair. The mayor looked at his daughter, hesitated for a moment, and finally pursed his lips and said, Beth, if Nobita really comes, you should go with him. Father, I won't leave. Beth shook her head firmly. The mayor said helplessly, I understand that this town holds the memories of you and your mother, but even if Nobita really comes to help us once, there will be a second time and a third time. As long as those guys are still the same, they will definitely run away again when something happens. Beth, you are as beautiful as your mother. If you're caught by those vicious and bloodthirsty criminals, the consequences would be disastrous. You know it, right? And I believe your mother doesn't want to see this either. Listening to her father's series of words, Beth's expression became more and more tangled. At the same time, top vision. Nobita looked at the pop-up window that suddenly appeared in front of him. Before he could react, he felt a warm current flowing through his eyes, which made his usually tired eyes completely relax. After a while, when Nobita opened his eyes again, he suddenly felt that the world in front of him became extremely clear. Even a small insect lying by the window was clearly visible. This made him, who was originally short-sighted, feel very wonderful. That's right, Nobita seemed to have thought of it and looked at Doraemon. Let's go to the west just like in the picture. Let's go together. Hey, everyone was frightened by what Nobita said. Going to the west is too dangerous, isn't it? Yes, if you're not careful, you may lose your life. Don't worry, Nobita smiled gently. With Doraemon's props, there is nothing to be afraid of. In fact, I want to see the ending of the town. Although I don't like those residents, I still want to help Miss Beth and the mayor. Yes, with Doraemon's gadgets, those bandits will definitely not be our match. Great, I have long wanted to teach that damn resident a lesson. Let's go. Just as Nobita and his friends were about to leave, the screen suddenly lit up again. A new video began. Genius or Fool? Patrick's monologue. A story about normal people. Post views. 45. Check out the title King Daxiong. All the characters in the world are num chapter 055, chapter 55. Patrick's famous scene. The first lesson of the good guy course. Is this your wallet? SpongeBob SquarePants world. Bikini Bottom. Krusty Krab. Wow. SpongeBob Squidward. Sandy, look, my name is on it. Hee hee, it looks really fun. Patrick swallowed the Krabby Patty in one gulp, with a silly smile on his pink cone face. It's true, Patrick, you were chosen by the light curtain. You are so lucky. The sea baby came out from the kitchen, looked at the light curtain with surprise, and then said with a smile, I didn't expect that you would be the first one on the list in Bikini Bottom, Patrick, but congratulations anyway. Sandy smiled, showing 2 white front teeth, and patted Patrick on the shoulder. At this time, Squidward, who was sitting in front of the cashier, put down the newspaper in front of his head, and a trace of irritation appeared on his face. He hated it most when someone disturbed him while he was quietly enjoying the newspaper. You don't think it's a good thing for a fool like Patrick to be on the list? I think it's more likely to be someone like Ahi and Big Head's son. That would only make us look bad in front of the rest of the world. Huh? Is that true, Squidward? Patrick scratched his rusty head, and a drop of saliva even dripped on his Squidward's octopus tentacles. Does that mean Patrick won't get any reward? The sea baby was stunned. Reward? At this time, Mr. Krabs came out of the office. Did I just hear someone talking about rewards? Mr. Krabs looked at everyone and laughed a few times. Conan whirled. In the car, what the hell? Vodka looked at the light curtain through his sunglasses and suddenly said with an unhappy face, 79-3 is a story about a normal person. What's the point of being a normal person? In my opinion, it will be better for you to be on the list. Right, boss? Vodka looked at Jin, who was also wearing a black windbreaker, and said with a smile, not interested. Jin had a cold expression, took a puff of cigarette, and replied indifferently, however, the boss has a reward. Jin glanced at Vodka, as if he was looking at a fool. Vodka, Why do I feel like you're getting stupider and stupider? If guys like us were to appear on a video, don't you think we'd be more likely to end up like that, Ahi? How can we get any good comments about people like us? After hearing what Jin said, Vodka nodded. Yes, brother Jin, you are really smart. Besides, if it really appears on the video, the black organization may appear in front of the public and may even reveal a lot of confidential information. This is not a good thing for us. As expected of Jin, you are so thoughtful. Vodka flatters him every day. Pokemon World, Patrick. Xiaozhi scratched his head. A look of confusion appeared on his face. Why do I feel that this name is more like the name of a Pokemon, like the gem starfish or something like that? Well, maybe the names of people in other worlds are just so weird. Xiao was playing with Psyduck and answered without looking up. Hey, Big Bear, do you think this Patrick star is delicious? Little Bear put his bare paw to his mouth and smiled with his silly face. Idiot! Big Bear punched Little Bear on the head without any hesitation. Don't think about food for everything. But Xiong Air touched the bulge on his head, looking aggrieved. Bikini Bottom is a town under the sea. There are all kinds of marine life living in it, including a squirrel. Patrick is also a member of Bikini Bottom. He's a starfish who idles around all day and often does many confusing things. So, in the eyes of many Bikini Bottom residents, Patrick is just a fool. What? Patrick held his head tightly with both hands. His eyeballs almost popped out. I am actually a fool in the eyes of others. Hearing this, Squidward said speechlessly, You don't realize it now, but you are right. If you can realize it, you are probably not a fool. At this time, SpongeBob walked to Patrick and patted Patrick on the shoulder. Don't worry, Patrick, you will always be my best friend in my eyes. SpongeBob, you're my best friend too. Patrick hugged SpongeBob tightly. Patrick, SpongeBob, Patrick star. See baby. Patrick, SpongeBob. Sitting at the cashier counter, Squidward looked at the two annoying guys in front of him impatiently. The sound he hated most was the screams of these two guys. Just when he wanted to leave, Mr. Krabs called him. Squidward, where do you want to go? Today's workday isn't over yet. Sit back down, or there will be no overtime pay. There wasn't one in the first place. Squidward complained, but he could only sit back obediently. Doraemon Universe. Mermaid Kingdom. Looking at the introduction of Beaky Castle on the light screen, Sophia's eyes moved slightly, and her pink lips opened in surprise. I never thought that other worlds actually have underwater towns just like our Mermaid Kingdom. I really want to meet the people in that Bikini Bottom. No, it should be called Marine Creatures. Little Harry said, Princess, don't even think about it. That Bikini Bottom is in another world. Even in our world, the Queen will not let you go. I know that too. Grandma is always worrying. Sophia sighed and said with a little temper, but why are there squirrels in Bikini Bottom? Can squirrels live underwater? She soon noticed that the light screen said that there was a squirrel in Bikini Bottom. Sophia's pretty face suddenly showed a trace of confusion. Could it be that the squirrels in their world can also go into the water? Continue to return to the light screen next. Let's take a look at some of Patrick's famous scenes. In the picture, in a damp cave in front of SpongeBob and Patrick sits a tall red guy. He is a recurring villain in SpongeBob SquarePants, the Red Devil. Also known as the Ray Devil the Sea, Baby smiled at the Ray Demon and said, Okay, Ray Demon, are you ready to start your first day of classes at the Good Guys School? Next, SpongeBob nudged Patrick with his elbow and said, Patrick, take out your wallet. The first lesson of the Good Person course is that you see someone lose their wallet. But Patrick's face was dull, as if he didn't hear what SpongeBob said, and he just kept holding the wallet in his hand. Seeing this scene, SpongeBob immediately whispered in his ear, Patrick, throw down your wallet. Patrick's reaction time seemed to be a bit long. He waited a few seconds before reacting and dropped the wallet in his hand. What are you going to do now? SpongeBob spread his hands and looked at the Ray Demon in front of him. The Ray Demon picked up the wallet on the ground and wanted to hand it to Patrick, saying in a kind tone, Excuse me, sir, I think this is the wallet you dropped. However, what no one expected was that when they saw the wallet in the hands of the Ray Demon, Patrick thought for a while before shaking his head. That doesn't seem to be mine. On the Ice River planet. Is that Patrick? Looking at Patrick in the picture, Kara was suddenly speechless and didn't know what to say. Just by looking at Patrick's silly face, she felt that this guy didn't seem to be very smart. What? What does Patrick mean? Isn't that his wallet? Xiaozhi touched his head, not understanding Patrick's operation. Or did he simply want to embarrass the Ray Demon? Although it seems that the Ray Demon has not done anything. But looking at the appearance, it seems that he is not a good person. Why does this Patrick look a little silly? Kalulu couldn't help but say. Atiera glanced at her and said, "Didn't you see that I said at the beginning that in the eyes of others, this Patrick is a fool? Of course he looks silly." In the light curtain, Patrick's words immediately froze the Ray Demon's face, and he was a little at a loss. But he calmed down, smiled, and continued, "What? I just saw you drop it." As he said this, he wanted to return the wallet to Patrick, but Patrick still shook his head and replied, "No, it's not mine. It's yours. I'm learning how to be a good person and give this back to you." Patrick's eyelids drooped slightly, and he asked, "Return what to whom?" Snap! The Ray Demon patted his head, looking helpless. Then he took out a card that looked like an ID card from his wallet and placed it in front of Patrick. "Aren't you Patrick the Starfish?" "Yes." Patrick nodded. "This is your ID card." "Yes." The Ray Demon smiled suddenly, feeling that the pink thing in front of him had become smarter. "I found this ID card in this wallet. If so, this must be your wallet, right?" Patrick said calmly. "This reminds me of, then take it." The Ray Demon put the wallet in front of Patrick. But Patrick's next words made him completely unable to hold back. "This is not my wallet." Alien World Puff. Haha. This Patrick is so funny. Zhang Chulan laughed so hard that tears were about to flow out of his eyes, and he slapped his thighs frantically. He wanted to use the pain to stop himself from laughing. Even Su San, who was usually very serious, couldn't hold back his laughter at this time. Although I know it's not good to call people fools, but this Patrick is really like a fool. Yes, it's really fun. Susi also laughed. At the same time, everyone in the world was amused by the conversation between Patrick and the Ray Demon. Holy shit, this is too much fun. I'm about to burst out laughing. The ID card is mine. But why do you say the wallet is mine too? Now, I finally understand why people call Patrick a fool. He is indeed a bit silly. I think that Ray Demon is about to turn red. I feel like he's about to take action. I couldn't help it either. Who could bear being fooled by a fool? Seeing this scene, many people understood why the screen said that Patrick was a fool in the eyes of others. After all, this brain circuit is a bit abnormal. The screen continued to play. After hearing what Patrick said, the Ray Demon couldn't stand it anymore and angrily squeezed the wallet in his hand into a ball. "You idiot, take your wallet back. Otherwise I will." Seeing this scene, SpongeBob immediately pressed the button, "This is wrong." In an instant, the Ray Demon fell to the ground, holding his stomach and laughing. SpongeBob said, "Good people don't threaten others." "Stop, stop, stop." The belt around the Ray Demon's waist kept tickling his stomach, making him feel tortured. The scene changed, and SpongeBob smiled and said, "Good people course lesson 2." Patrick came out from the side carrying a box. "You see someone lifting something very heavy, what should you do?" The Ray Demon stood in front of Patrick and said, "Hey, friend, I saw you moving this box. Can I help you?" As soon as he said this, Patrick let go of his hands, and the box in his hands fell to the ground. Bang! It hit the Ray Demon's feet hard. Ouch! The severe pain made the Ray Demon's facial features wrinkled and screamed. Big Ear Tutu World. Flip Garden. Tutu looked at the Ray Demon in the picture, and a touch of sympathy suddenly appeared on his face. He pulled Zhang Xiaoli's skirt. "Mom, that Ray Demon looks so pitiful." Kamen Rider Universe. Build World. I'm afraid Patrick didn't do it on purpose. Looking at Patrick's miraculous operation on the screen, Kiryu Sento's mouth twitched twice, and he couldn't tell who was the villain for a moment. That Ray Demon must be about to collapse, actually encountering a talent like Patrick. Ryuga said with a smile. Janda shook his head and looked at Ryuga with a trace of pity in his eyes. "Don't laugh at him. I feel that you two are not much different." "What did you say?" Ryu couldn't stand it anymore. He might not be as smart as Jantu, but he was not as smart as Patrick. Post views, 40. Check out the title King Daxiong. All the characters in the world are Num Chapter 056 Chapter 56. You stupid fan, your misunderstanding of Patrick and the light curtain. Patrick laughed and said, I'm sorry, I'll do it again. Hearing what Patrick said, the Ray Demon had to swallow his anger and put on a smiling face again. I see you. However, before he could finish his words, Patrick suddenly let go of his hands and the box hit his feet hard again. The Ray Demon covered his face with his hands in pain, as if he was afraid that he would not be able to help but beat Patrick when he saw his face. Oops, I'm so sorry, I'll do it again. This time, it's even more outrageous. The Ray Demon just said the word, when the box fell at his feet. Finally, the Ray Demon could no longer bear the anger in his heart. His eyes widened, staring at Patrick, and he gnashed his teeth and shouted, You stupid pink thing! What's in your box? My wallet, Patrick said expressionlessly. Upon hearing this, the Ray Demon roared to the sky. It turned out that this pink thing had been playing tricks on him all along. He was the Ray Demon that made Bikini Bottom tremble with fear, but he was insulted by a fool. Unimaginable anger completely devoured his reason. The next second, he pulled up Patrick's head. See, baby, hurry up. Tickle him, tickle him. Patrick kept struggling. In an instant, he was swung around by the Ray Demon like a sandbag. Bang, 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 bang. Seeing the scene, SpongeBob quickly pressed the switch, and a burst of itching suddenly came over him, making the Ray Demon laugh out loud. Ha ha, it's so itchy, but worth it next. He just ignored the itchy feeling and continued to swing Patrick. Inside Bikini Bottom, good job. Seeing Patrick being beaten, Squidward couldn't help but smile and said beautifully, This Ray Demon is really the hero of our Bikini Bottom. Ha ha. He couldn't help laughing. He had long wanted to teach Patrick the Fool a lesson, but he was always the one who suffered in the end. SpongeBob, that Ray Demon is really a bad guy. Patrick looked at SpongeBob and said in surprise, Well, Sea Surface scratched his head full of holes, not knowing how to answer. Meanwhile, in the base of Mermaid Warrior and Ocean Ranger, the Ray Demon had not been released by SpongeBob and Patrick and was still frozen in ice. However, he could still see the screen. How dare that stupid pink star insult me like that? The Ray Demon, get out. I will make that idiot pay the price. The Ray Demon couldn't speak at this time and could only think silently in his heart. Why is it that Patrick is the one being beaten, but I feel that the Ray Demon is more pitiful? Pineapple Blowing Snow said this as she looked at Patrick being swung around like a sandbag. Me too, especially when Patrick said that my wallet was inside. I couldn't help myself. Chung Liuxiong shook his head. He was almost dumbfounded by Patrick's actions just now. With this, Patrick knows how to mess with people's mentality. Lu Xiao will wave his feather fan and stare to the screen. Good People Course Lesson 3 at this time. Patrick had been beaten to a pulp, sitting in a wheelchair with wounds all over his body, staring at the Ray Demon with a gloomy face. Well, let me think. SpongeBob couldn't think of any good ideas for a while. I have a good idea. Patrick snatched the switch from SpongeBob's hand. A number between 1 and 100. Which one am I thinking of now? 62. The Ray Demon scratched his head. How could he answer such a question? He could only give a random number. Wrong. Patrick frowned and pressed the switch. Ha 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 ha. For a moment, the laughter of the Ray Devil echoed in the screen. Demon Slayer World. Tanjiro's eyes revealed a deep sympathy. Mr. Ray Devil. It's really pitiful. Agatsuma Zenitsu couldn't help but complain. For a moment, I couldn't tell who was the devil. Snored. How could a yellow cube and a stupid pink star bully him like this? King Dima sat high on the throne, looking at the Ray Demon that was being toyed with and kneeling on the ground begging for mercy, and snorted coldly. This guy should change his name and not embarrass us demons. It's terrible. Squidward shook his head and said with emotion, It's incredible that I have survived for so long under the attack of SpongeBob and Patrick. Then the screen played one famous scene after another of Patrick. In these videos, every action of Patrick made people feel a little silly and confused. However, it was really fun to watch. Many people were amused by Patrick's stupid look. Haha, this is so funny. I wish I had a fool like this around me. Yeah, it would be so much fun to have a guy like Patrick around. But Patrick's ability to withstand blows is quite strong. He is fine even when he is beaten so hard. That Squidward is so unlucky. He is tortured by SpongeBob and Patrick every day, but suddenly, the style of the painting on the screen changed. The originally happy and funny atmosphere suddenly disappeared, and a slightly sad background music suddenly sounded. For a moment, everyone was a little overwhelmed. The Mermaid Kingdom. Why did the music suddenly change? And it sounded a bit sad. Sophia's cute face showed a hint of doubt. The novel was taken from the Rala's website. Close where you're reading it, and support us on our website for more free novels. Is there a reversal? Little Harry rubbed his chin and guessed. This music, it reminds me of the days when I was with Xiao Wei. Bai Xiaofei closed his eyes and was immediately immersed in the sad music. Uncle, uncle, the little deer suddenly misses her mother. At this time, a little girl wearing a yellow little deer came to Bai Xiaofei. But just as the little deer approached Bai Xiaofei, the deer head on the clothes happened to hit Bai Xiaofei. Bai Xiaofei's eyes widened, and he woke up from his memories. Then he felt an unbearable pain and screamed. This frightened Xiaolu, and he asked hurriedly, Uncle, uncle, what's wrong with you? The little deer shook Bai Xiaofei's body, and the deer head on top his head kept hitting back and forth. After a while, Bai Xiaofei's face turned pale, and he foamed at the mouth. Does Patrick really know nothing? Is he really just a fool, an idiot, and a moron in everyone's eyes? Next steps. Patrick's monologue will give the answer at the beginning of the picture, accompanied by sad music. What are you waiting for? Let's go. Patrick and SpongeBob were exposed on the street wearing only their underwear. The residents of Bikini Bottom were looking at them with strange eyes. SpongeBob looked around and saw that everyone was pointing at him and laughing. This made SpongeBob feel very uncomfortable. He looked at Patrick with some embarrassment. I don't want to do this. I want to be normal. However, before he could finish his words, Patrick grabbed his body and threw him out like a skateboard. It's your turn. We'll see you on the other side, brother. Patrick slid over the stream on the road. After a while, the two landed in a pool in a zoo. With a bang, the water splashed and immediately attracted the attention of a child. The child looked at Patrick and SpongeBob in the water and immediately asked his mother, Mom, what kind of animal is that? His mother shook her head and said to her child decisively, That's trash, baby. That's not a normal person. SpongeBob and the others boast that they are not ordinary people. Actually, I know. I am a genius, and my specialties are daydreaming and staying at home. So there's always nothing around me, because geniuses are born lonely. Not only that, this video is different from the past, and there are barges of comments sliding across it. The more ridiculous the story, the more ironic the truth behind it. SpongeBob SquarePants really has many thought-provoking stories. The great foolishness of King Daxiong, I feel this episode is very ironic. We were obviously living a good life, but it changed just because of a few words from others. What is normal? I just live the way I like. Life mentor. Patrick, that's how everyone looks like at the end. This is what you and your friends looked like when you were young and carefree. Seeing these comments one after another, people from all over the world fell silent almost instantly. Those who had just mocked Patrick now felt their mouths dry and could not speak. They found, it seems that they were wrong from the beginning. They knew nothing about Patrick. Just like the passersby in the video, they were no different from those passersby. When they were young, they seemed to be just like Patrick at the beginning, carefree and full of joy every day. However, as they get older, they have more things to consider. Study, money, family, many things weighed on them, making them breathless, and their smiles gradually disappeared, which is why they thought Patrick was dumb and stupid. At the same time, in the Super Beast world, Pluto sat high on the throne, his tall body making him look a little aloof. He propped his chin with one hand, stared at the screen motionlessly, and then spoke. Interesting, what is a normal person? Maybe in the eyes of the Snow Emperor, I am not a normal person, but in my eyes, the Snow Emperor is the abnormal one. Everything is just because of different concepts. What is normal or not is defined by oneself. Maybe I understand why Patrick is said to be a foolish man. 777 Doraemon Universe. After easily solving the problem in the western town, Nobita and his friends are riding a time machine to the 21st century. Beth still chose to stay in Mogo Town, but Nobita promised her that he would visit her often in the future. Nobita also gave Beth a time machine, which she could use to make video calls with him in the future, and she could also use it to notify him if she encountered any trouble. Doraemon, what do these words mean? Fat Tiger pointed at the bullet screen floating on the screen and felt a little dizzy. For him, who was just an elementary school student, the words above were still a bit profound. Hey, Doraemon sighed and explained, it means that Patrick just lives happily and freely according to his own ideas, and he doesn't care even if he faces strange looks from others. Didn't you see that after the passerby said that Patrick and SpongeBob were losers, Patrick was still smiling and not affected at all? Why didn't I realize it before? It turns out that this is the case. Dory, only felt that he was a little shallow before. He only thought that what Patrick did was nonsensical and funny, and he didn't think so deeply. Now it seems he really has a superficial view. Listen, people actually live their whole lives in the opinions of others. Xiaofu often shows off his wealth just to see other people's envious expressions. I didn't, Xiaofu said stubbornly, but his red face completely exposed his inner thoughts. There are many girls who love to wear makeup because they care about what other people think of them. Just like Nobita, when you're sleeping in class and the teacher wakes you up, you will feel ashamed, right? All of these actually come from other people's opinions. Don't think that Patrick is happy all day long. It's because he doesn't care about other people's opinions, so he feels happy every day. Oh, Nobita touched his chin and said, as long as I don't care about other people's opinions, I won't feel ashamed when the teacher wakes me up while I'm sleeping in class. Hearing this, Doraemon's face was full of black lines. You have to sleep in class, don't you? Anyway, it is impossible for ordinary people to have the mentality of Patrick. When a person lives in society, he will inevitably care about what others think. This is a very normal thing. Just don't care too much. If you care too much about other people's opinions, it will be very tiring to live in this world. I am afraid I won't dare to tell the driver when the bus arrives at the station. If I encounter any problems, I won't dare to trouble others. Oh. After hearing Doraemon's words, Nobita and the others nodded, not quite understanding. Although they didn't quite understand, they still understood one thing. That is, Patrick didn't seem to be the fool they imagined. Post views 45. Check out the title King Daxiong. All the characters in the world are Num Chapter 0, 57 Chapter 57. Even the best of friends will eventually separate. Doraemon, we will be together forever in the light curtain. Patrick's joyful singing and the sad music of his back are still surrounding. I like to count the stars with my eyes closed, and I am the only one who counts. Some people say I'm crazy. I'm just doing what starfish do. When Squidward picked up his recorder and started practicing like a disruptive person. When Mr. Krabs found another gold coin, he secretly put it in his pocket. When everyone is chasing what they want, only my plan. There is nothing to do. In Bikini Bottom, Squidward has just changed his mind about Patrick. But after seeing the lyrics on the screen, he suddenly got angry again and raised his octopus claws. Patrick, you'd better explain to me when my recorder is a nuisance. Well, Sandy was stunned for a moment. Although I know that this may undermine your confidence, but Squidward, your recorder is really terrible. What? Ugly. Squidward crossed his arms across his chest, as if he had heard a joke, revealing a mocking smile. It's just that you, a country squirrel from the land, don't understand what real art is. But, come to think of it, how could a squirrel have artistic talent like me? Said Squidward, and he was immersed in his own world again. Sandy beside him was very upset. He didn't believe it, even though he told her the truth. He was really hopeless, until someone, he discovered me, saw me, walked into me, and changed my life forever. In the picture, Patrick and SpongeBob get to know each other, become close friends, and then become close friends. Scenes flash by. I remember we went catching jellyfish together, and then we found that the jellyfish was catching Squidward. As his neighbors, we must do something. I went to the mall and bought a protective case. I was drawing a lottery at the mall. I wanted to draw a character, but I only drew a car. I want to take you around the world, but I don't have a driver's license, so I can only take you to play rocking games. But, SpongeBob, I don't have much brains. Clumsy, why does the sun set in the west? Why do I always give Squidward a headache? Why do we keep getting scolded? Why? I never thought about it. Because I am usually so dull, I am free and worry-free. I didn't expect Patrick to be such a philosopher. It seems that I really misunderstood him before. Kara felt that what Patrick said made sense, and he was totally different from the silly look she had seen before. A look of surprise suddenly appeared on her pretty face. Kara, I told you a long time ago that you can't judge a person by his appearance. The doctor shook his head and taught Kara seriously. Hearing the doctor's words, Kara immediately rolled her eyes, glanced at the doctor who was pretending to be a great truth, and ruthlessly exposed him. Doctor, you were obviously laughing happily just now, and I clearly heard you say that you felt Patrick was like a pink idiot. Well, maybe you heard it wrong. The doctor touched his head and felt a little embarrassed. But SpongeBob, you're different. You have an amazing life, a job you love, and friends who will always support you. Love your family. Obedient little snail, your youth is worth fighting for. So sometimes I don't know why you were sad when Squidward picked up his recorder. He began to rise to fame and fortune. When Mr. Krabs found another gold coin, he laughed so hard that he forgot everything else. Hey, I love hearing this. Patrick, you said it very well. After hearing that he had gained both fame and fortune, Squidward felt much better. He even liked Patrick, whom he usually hated, much better. Oh my God, SpongeBob looked at Patrick and suddenly said, I didn't know that you thought like this before, Patrick, but don't worry, no matter what happens, we will always be good friends for life. Patrick took a sip of the cuteness from the passerby and lowered his eyes. I don't know what's going on in my head. I really don't know how a guy like you can say such a philosophical thing. Squidward complained expressionlessly. I feel a little sad. Listening to Patrick's words, Grey Wolf couldn't help but feel a little sorry for Patrick. Although he and SpongeBob are good friends, their situations are completely different. As the lyrics say, SpongeBob has a loving family, obedient pets, many friends, and a career he loves. He is a complete winner in life. In comparison, Patrick has nothing. His only true friend is SpongeBob. That's why Patrick doesn't understand why someone like SpongeBob feels sad. Hey, Grey Wolf shook his head. The more he listened, the sadder the lyrics became. SpongeBob, should we also? Keep doing what you love. So what are you waiting for? Let's go. Oh my God, I didn't even notice it. SpongeBob, are you sick? The holes on your body are getting fewer and fewer, and the edges of the cubes, or did I fail to take good care of you? Don't worry, I will treat you right away. When you recover, we can go on adventures together. Right, SpongeBob? I must catch that jellyfish. I will avenge Squidward. I'll give you the cards you want, but I don't know what they are good for. SpongeBob, I finally got my driver's license. Let's go find the island where the sun sets. SpongeBob, your home has become so beautiful. Are you back to normal, SpongeBob? In the picture, SpongeBob became a millionaire with more money than he can spend because of an unexpected windfall. When Patrick came to SpongeBob's house again, he found that SpongeBob's pineapple house had disappeared, and it was replaced by a tall and gorgeous house. When Patrick saw SpongeBob again, he was surrounded by a group of Bikini Bottom residents. Everyone had a hypocritical smile on their face and kept saying nice things just to please SpongeBob and get more money from him. Patrick stepped forward to say hello, but before he could get close, he was stopped by Mr. Krabs. Excuse me, sir, is this person harassing you? Mr. Krabs said to SpongeBob in a flattering manner. SpongeBob touched his beard and said in a tone that was very unfamiliar to Patrick, It doesn't matter. He's just jealous of my glamorous life. In the end, Patrick was thrown out of SpongeBob's house by Mr. Krabs. Patrick looked at every memory of SpongeBob in the album. Tears in his eyes flowed down. That's SpongeBob. How did the joy disappear? The final scene returns to the beginning again, and they fall into the water. Mom, what is that? But the difference is that this time, there's only Patrick in the picture, and SpongeBob is not visible. At this point, the picture dimmed. This marks the end of this video. Glory World, keep doing what you like. Patrick and I think the same thing. Yishio took out a cigarette from his pocket and said with emotion, he has been playing for Glory for 10 years and has also been working hard in the professional arena for 10 years. 10 years is the golden age for an esports player. The people who played with him at the beginning retired one after another, and the people around him have changed. There are only a few old guys like him who are still persisting. So he can really understand what Patrick said. What are you mumbling about over there? Unit 19 needs some instant noodles. Hurry up. Chunguo looked at Yishio strangely and then urged him. I'll go right away. Yishio smiled and replied, look at this ending. Did Patrick and SpongeBob go their separate ways? Nobita was a little surprised and couldn't accept it. How could this be possible? Weren't they very close at the beginning? I remember they said they wanted to be good friends for life. Nobita, people are not static. Doraemon sighed deeply and said, it's not just SpongeBob and Patrick. When you go to high school, college, or go out into society, I'm afraid you won't be in the same school anymore, and you'll have fewer opportunities to meet each other, and your relationship will gradually fade, and it won't be like it is now. What? I don't want to. Nobita shook his head. He didn't want to be separated from everyone. Even though Fat Tiger and Sunio used to bully him, he still had a deep friendship with them. Don't worry, Nobita. I will definitely be your good friend for life. But you, don't quit halfway. Fat Tiger raised his mouth and showed a smile. That's right, I might leave you alone. Xiaofu subconsciously fiddled with his hair. Nobita, I feel the same way too. I will always be with you all. Suddenly, Nobita felt warmth on his hand, and when he looked down, he found that Shizuka was holding his hand tightly. Nobita was very touched and immediately looked at Doraemon. You too, Doraemon, you must not leave like this. Yeah. Doraemon smiled and looked at Nobita, nodding his head heavily. Post views. 42. Check out the title King Daxiong. All the characters in the world are Num Chapter 058, Chapter 58. New video, Nobita's Biohazard Bunny Bear's World. Bear 2 scratched his head, his face full of confusion. Big Bear, why don't I understand? Why are you so stupid? Big Bear looked at his silly brother helplessly. He originally thought that Patrick would be even dumber than Little Bear, but it turned out that he was totally wrong. Patrick seemed to be a sober man and a great philosopher. Little Bear was just stupid. On the other hand, Bald King was also deeply touched. What Patrick said is so good. When I grew up, I felt that it was completely different from what I thought when I was a child. I was busy every day just to earn a meager salary. And Thali Bayopi, he still likes to boss people around. Bald King himself has forgotten how long it has been since he last met his childhood friends. He still remembers it at the time, and he said the same thing as Patrick and the sea baby in the picture. We should be good friends for life. But now, let alone keep in touch, some of the bald men can't even remember their names. Fortunately, I still have those two stinky bears here to keep me company. At this time, Guang Tu-Kiang felt that the two bears who always caused him trouble were much more pleasing to the eye. After all, with that group of little animals around, he would not be too lonely. Super Beast World, oh shit. It turns out that Patrick is a philosopher. Huolin Fei was almost dumbfounded. He never expected that Patrick, who was stupid at the beginning, could say such philosophical words. Miao Xiaojuan rubbed his chin for a while and said, finally, I understand that money really does support people. Didn't you see that SpongeBob's temperament is completely different after he got money? Ouch. When Miao Xiaojuan said this, everyone present fell to the ground. Tianya got up from the ground and said speechlessly, your train of thought is quite weird. Fatty, you got the point wrong. Huolin Fei complained besides that SpongeBob has become a bit annoying, which is not a good change. Miao Xiaojuan retorted, then you just hate rich people. This video ends. In SpongeBob SquarePants World, Patrick received a reward, a year's supply of ice cream. SpongeBob SquarePants World. Inside Bikini Bottom, wow. After seeing the reward, Patrick's lifeless eyes suddenly became full of life. It's a vintage ice cream. I love ice cream the most. Patrick shouted excitedly. The next second, a golden light descended from the light curtain, and countless ice creams fell from the sky, directly submerging Patrick. Squidward hugged his hands in front of his chest, watching this scene with a pair of dead fish eyes, and opened his mouth. This idiot is really easy to satisfy. I feel that this reward is not good compared with others. It's so easy to fool, I even doubt whether the Patrick in the video is the same person as him. After hearing what Squidward said, Sandy looked at Patrick with a smile on his face and couldn't help showing her big front teeth again. But this reward feels fitting, doesn't it? SpongeBob. At this time, Patrick hurriedly looked at SpongeBob and shouted, "Come over and eat together." But when SpongeBob heard what Patrick said, he pointed at himself at a loss. "Patrick, are you calling me?" He is still immersed in the video, just now. Because the video ended abruptly, SpongeBob didn't know the ending of the animation. He and Patrick reconciled. He only thought that Patrick, who he betrayed in the end, had betrayed his promise to Patrick, the promise to be good friends with him forever. This made SpongeBob's heart restless and very uncomfortable. "Of course, you're my good friend," Patrick shouted, "but come on, SpongeBob, come on." Seeing SpongeBob still hesitating, Patrick went straight forward, grabbed SpongeBob's hand, and then got into the ice cream. "That's great. I think the video, just now, should not be played in full. How could the two of them be separated?" Sandy rested her head on her hands and smiled. "Yeah, I think so too." Even Squidward smiled. "So, in the video, where did SpongeBob get all that money?" Mr. Krabs stretched out his claws, rubbed his chin, and looked at SpongeBob with suspicion. "Wow, the reward is a year's worth of ice cream. How great! I really envy Patrick." Shinosuke looked at the light screen, then looked at Mia. "Mom, buy me an ice cream." Mia refused without thinking. "No, eating too much ice cream will give me a toothache." Snort. Three-layer belly monster old woman. As soon as the voice fell, bang, Maya's fist hit Xiaoxi's potato head skillfully, and a big bump grew on it instantly. "Don't talk to your mother like that." After a while, words started to flow on the screen again, indicating the start of a new round of videos. When Nobita's world encounters a biochemical crisis, zombies appear and the world is in chaos. The peaceful daily life was completely broken. So how should Nobita and others respond? Should they choose to escape or fight back? The next one to be played is Lost Doomsday, Nobita's Biohazard. Zombie World what? Resident Evil. Zombies appeared in Nobita's world. Bai Xiaofei was completely confused. He didn't expect that Nobita's world would also encounter the tragedy of zombie outbreak, like his own world. "This is interesting." Bai Xiaofei immediately became alert and stared at the screen intently. Now he felt immersed in the story, didn't he? He was also very curious about how the elementary school students like Nobita would survive in a zombie apocalypse. On the other side, in the library, Long Yu, who was absorbing knowledge, put down the encyclopedia in his hand, and a smile appeared on his pale face. "Oh, there are zombies in other worlds too. That's really interesting. I wonder how the zombies in Nobita's world came into being." Doraemon universe. Nobita's home what? Zombies are haunting. Is this true or not? Suddenly, Nobita and the others were frightened. "Don't be ridiculous. Don't zombies only appear in movies?" Xiaofu couldn't accept it. If that were the case, it would be a huge blow to their family. After all, if the zombie apocalypse really came, then according to the movies he had watched before, money and other things would be worthless. This also meant that Xiaofu's leisurely life as a young master would come to an end. Because his family was rich, it would even attract the attention of many people with bad intentions. He had watched many zombie movies and knew that when the apocalypse came, the most terrifying thing was not only the zombies, but also the humans whose primitive nature was completely released. Sometimes, humans might be even more terrifying than zombies. Zombies? That sounds so scary. Shizuka's pretty face turned pale, and her hands were clenched tightly together. Nobita also frowned, a little bit unbelieving. How could it be? Why would creatures like zombies appear out of nowhere? Fat Tiger grinned and patted Doraemon's back. "Why panic? Even if zombies really appear, we have Doraemon. With so many powerful props, there's nothing to be afraid of whether it's zombies or not." That's right. After hearing Fat Tiger's words, everyone felt a little relieved. At the same time, the future of the 22nd century, what? Zombie outbreak? World chaos. When Sharpshooter saw the words on the screen, he felt his head buzzing. He lowered his head and thought for a while. I don't remember any biochemical crisis breaking out on our Earth. Hasn't the 21st century, where my great-grandfather lives, been always peaceful? It's really strange. What's going on? Doremi took a bite of the pineapple bun and answered vaguely. Maybe it's just a parallel world. After all, anything can happen in other worlds. Yes, there is indeed such a possibility. Sharpshooter nodded. If it is a parallel world, then everything can be explained. Hey, Sharpshooter suddenly sighed and said with some worry, I wonder if the great-grandfather in that world can be safe and sound. It should be okay. After all, Nobita in another world probably has a talent for sharpshooting, so it shouldn't be difficult for him to protect himself. Resident Evil World. Alice saw the introduction of this round of videos on the screen. She felt her brain freeze for a moment. What the hell is zombie outbreak? Isn't this exactly the same as our world? Could it be that there is also the T virus in their world, and it just happened to be leaked? Alice guessed. At the same time, King Ada, who was wearing a red dress, also noticed the change of the light curtain. A look of surprise appeared on his perfect face. The zombie outbreak was just a coincidence. But I think Nobita has a kind personality. Kind people, but you can't live long in this chaotic era. Oh no, it's finally Mr. Nobita's turn again. I've been looking forward to it for a long time. But what does this zombie mean? A tie scratched his steel head. It was the first time he heard the word zombie, so he was a little confused. A zombie outbreak sounds very dangerous. I hope Nobita and the others are safe and sound. Miyako can't do anything but pray for Nobita and the others. Check out the title King Daxiong. All the characters in the world are Num Chapter 059, Chapter 59. A horrifying scene. Nobita's mother turned into a zombie in the light curtain, under the expectant gaze of everyone in the heavens and myriad worlds. The video began to play slowly. Note: this video takes place in a parallel world. Please don't panic too much. A seemingly peaceful day in Nobita's room. A random door suddenly appeared out of nowhere. It's such a great time. I can see my mother again. Yes, I haven't seen my family for several days. I miss them so much. Next second, Nobita, Fat Tiger, Sunio, Shizuka, and Doraemon came out of the Anywhere door. It turned out that Doraemon invited them to a deserted island for vacation, where they enjoyed a 3-day vacation and have just returned. Doraemon went downstairs first, and Fat Tiger and the other two went back to their homes after saying goodbye to Nobita. After everyone left, Nobita thought that since he hadn't been home for so many days, he should say hello to his mother. So I decided to go downstairs. But just as I opened the door, a strange sound came from downstairs. It sounded like a monster's roar, but also like the sound of something being torn apart, leaving Nobita confused. But Nobita didn't pay much attention to it and walked towards the kitchen as usual. I found Doraemon standing at the kitchen door, motionless. Nobita, my mother's son is a little strange. Hearing this, Nobita went forward to greet his mother, but his mother ignored him and was concentrating on chewing something. Mom, what's wrong? Nobita shouted again. However, the next moment, the ground around Nobi Tamako was suddenly covered with blood. Next, Nobi Tamako turned her head stiffly. Her face was covered in blood, and she looked dazed. Her eyes were filled with madness. And with an extremely terrifying bloody mouth, it doesn't look like a human, but more like a zombie. But this isn't the scariest thing. When Nobita saw clearly what his mother was eating, his face turned pale, and he was trembling with fear. The eyes behind the glasses were wide open, with an expression of disbelief. Because Nobita Tamako was actually gnawing on a brain, and upon closer inspection, the brain turned out to belong to his father, Nobita Shinsuke. Doraemon Universe. Nobita's home. Seeing such a horrifying scene, Nobita and the others all opened their eyes wide and couldn't help but scream. The 5 of them hugged each other tightly and curled up into a ball. Mother, actually, Dad ate it. Nobita's eyes were dull, and he was completely unable to recover from the huge shock brought to him by the scene. Fat Tiger swallowed his saliva and said, Are they zombies? That's a bit too scary. Doraemon was also terrified, but he still comforted her. It's okay, Nobita. Look at what I said at the beginning. This is just happening in a parallel world. This means that our world is very normal, and this kind of thing will not happen, just like the previous error table. I know. Nobita shook his head, and his mind became clearer. He saw it, but even if it was a parallel world, he still felt it was too scary to see such a scene. What is this? Nobi Yuko was startled and collapsed to the ground. Even the vegetables she bought on the street were scattered on the ground, but she didn't care about them at the moment. At this moment, her attention was completely attracted by the picture on the screen. She couldn't think of. In another parallel world, she turned into such a terrible zombie and did such a thing. This made Nobi Tamako's heart greatly shocked. Conan World. Dr. Agasa's home? Wow. How scary. The three Tidan fools were so frightened that their faces turned pale, and they hugged Conan one by one. Conan, I'm so scared. Ayumi closed her eyes and pushed herself into Conan's arms. They were just like the zombies on TV, but I didn't expect Nobita's mother to become a zombie too. Mitsuo said with a scared face. Nobita, so pitiful. If you guys don't dare to watch, then don't continue watching. Conan said speechlessly. Everyone was crowded around him, and it was almost hot to death. Nobita and Doraemon were also frightened out of their wits. Roar! It was Nobita's scream that brought him back to consciousness. He looked at the strange and scary mother with fear on his face. Mom, Dad, what's wrong with him? Roar! However, the only response he got was Nobi Tamako's creepy scream. At this moment, Nobita heard a sound of breaking outside the living room. Two zombies broke into their home. When the two separated, Nobita Tamako rushed towards Nobita like a mad beast, growling. Mother! No matter how much Nobita called out, his mother remained unmoved. Nobita, danger! At the critical moment, Doraemon stepped forward to block Nobita and told Nobita to run away quickly. When he figured out what happened, I would catch up with him. No choice but to flee to the street. But the scene outside the street was far more terrifying and severe than Nobita had imagined, and it completely frightened Nobita, who was caught off guard. There was a sea of fire and corpses everywhere. The originally peaceful streets had now become terrifying. At the same time, the passers-by on the street also became as strange as his mother, with their hands stretched out straight, their faces dull, their pupils white, like zombies. There were even the desperate screams of passers-by, which kept echoing in Nobita's ears. When passers-by saw Nobita, they pounced on him as if they saw food. What happened? Nobita felt confused. He was only on vacation for 3 days, but when he came back, the whole world had changed. Oh my God, this scene is exactly the same as what I saw when I first came back to the ground. Alice was extremely surprised and put her 2 white hands on her mouth. The scene that Nobita saw in the picture was the same as when the T virus broke out in their world. However, at that time, many people didn't take it seriously and just regarded these zombies as thugs attacking and injuring people. But she understood the truth of it all, so she looked at Nobita with a slightly saintly nature, and her eyes softened. Oh, what a poor boy. Crayon Shin-chan world, wow. Mom and Dad, Big Brother Nobita's world, is it so scary? Even the usually mischievous Shinosuke was frightened at this moment. After all, he was just a 5-year-old child. Watching a low-quality horror movie would scare you, but not this kind of super real light screen video that has not been edited or processed. Husband, it feels like we were in a movie. Maya hugged Hiroshi's arm tightly. She was almost scared to death by Nobita's mother's behavior. Without It's Okay, there shouldn't be such a thing as zombies in our world, but I don't know what Nobita will do next. Guangxi sighed. Nobita, in the picture, must be much more scared than him. He just went on vacation, but when he came back, he found that his family was broken up. No one could accept this. The surface is still playing Nobita realized that being afraid was useless. He had to cheer up quickly and first find a weapon to defend himself. After a while, Nobita suppressed his fear and found a baton from a policeman's body. The raging fire surrounded Nobita, blocking his way. So the most urgent thing is to find tools to put out the fire, and for this reason, Nobita walked into a convenience store. But as soon as he entered the door, Nobita found that there was a pretty girl standing not far from him. When the girl saw Nobita, a look of fear suddenly appeared on her face. Then, he took out a pistol and pointed it at Nobita. Nobita was a little overwhelmed, guessing that the girl might have mistaken him for the group of scary monsters outside, and wanted to go up to her to explain, but as soon as Nobita took a step forward, the girl screamed in fear. "Aya, don't come over here." As she said that, the girl shot Nobita directly. Fortunately, Nobita reacted very quickly and slightly turned sideways, thus avoiding the bullet. At the same time, I am curious why this girl has a gun in her hand. "No, if you come over here again, I will shoot you. Please don't come over here again." The girl screamed madly. Resident Evil world, what? This little guy can react to bullets? Leon rubbed his eyes, feeling a little confused. Oh my god, what did he see? A little kid who was not even as tall as his neck could actually react to bullets? It was too outrageous. Leon couldn't believe it at all. As a special forces soldier who had undergone hard training, he didn't dare to say that he could react to bullets. As a result, this kind of thing was actually done by a child. This world is crazy. Leon shook his head and muttered to himself, "Oh my god, so awesome." Bai Xiaofei was also stunned. Nobita's strength was completely beyond his expectations. To be able to dodge bullets at such a close distance, this guy's reaction speed was too scary. Bai Xiaofei looked at his hands and suddenly realized that perhaps his current strength was not as good as that of a primary school student. Damn, continue to look at the light curtain. Nobita didn't continue to pay attention to the girl, because his purpose in coming to the convenience store was just to find firefighting tools. Soon after searching for a while, Nobita found a fire extinguisher in the corner of the convenience store. I'm leaving. Can you listen to me for a moment?" After getting the fire extinguisher, out of kindness in his heart, Nobita wanted to ask the girl to run away together. After all, one more person means more sense of security. But at this moment, with a crackling sound, the glass next to the counter was broken, and two monsters rushed in from outside and pounced on the girl. Bang! The girl shot and killed one of them, but was still attacked and bitten to death by another monster. Nobita, who saw this scene with his own eyes, was so frightened that he collapsed to the ground. The person who was alive a few seconds ago turned into a cold corpse right before his eyes. But Nobita quickly regained his composure. So while the zombies were eating, Nobita quietly walked out of the convenience store. 8:53 after putting out the fire, Nobita came to a warehouse in the corner of the warehouse. A policeman was lying against the wall with wounds all over his body, blood spreading under him, and he was dying. After learning that Nobita was a normal person, the police officer told Nobita some of the information he knew. It turns out that since yesterday, there was a group of strange people wandering on the street. He approached them to ask about the situation, but was knocked down and bitten by the strange people. "I have no choice but to hide in this place." But before the policeman could finish his words, the sound of glass breaking was heard again, and a monster broke in through the window. And, to make matters worse, a monster broke into the back door of the warehouse. The police officer said to Nobita at this time that he had a gun in his pocket and asked Nobita to use it for self-defense. He also told Nobita to shoot the monsters in the head to cause fatal damage to them. Varied what? Isn't this murder? Nobita found it hard to accept. He was just an ordinary primary school student a few days ago, but now he was asked to shoot and injure people. This made Nobita, who was kind-hearted, a little bit unable to do it. In order to alleviate Nobita's guilt, the police officer told Nobita that they are now zombies and are no longer human. If you want to survive and not be eaten by them, you must take the initiative to attack and kill them. Doraemon universe, huh? I finally got the gun. I feel a little safer now. Nobita breathed a sigh of relief. For him, getting the gun could greatly improve his combat effectiveness. After all, the title of Sharpshooter was still in front of him. At least he had a reliable means of self-defense and was not afraid of being pounced on by the zombies that suddenly appeared. Hey, why is there no image of me? Could it be that I've turned into a zombie? Fat Tiger shouted, his face full of panic. After saying this, Shizuka and Sunio also looked at Fat Tiger. They had the same idea in their minds at the moment. Don't worry too much. It's just that it hasn't appeared yet. It will be fine. Dory wiped the sweat from his forehead and comforted him. Very good. Mr. Nobita has got the gun. Those damn zombies are definitely not Mr. Nobita's opponents. Atiera was also relieved. He was very nervous just now. He was afraid that a zombie would suddenly jump out and eat Nobita. Now that he saw Nobita got the gun, he finally felt better. He was very confident in Nobita's shooting skills. But I don't think so. What if there are more powerful zombies later? Xiaozhi shook his head, thinking that an ordinary pistol was not safe. Post views. 40. Check out the title King Daxiong. All the characters in the world are Num Chapter 060 Chapter 60. The world is in chaos. Get a special weapon, a pistol. Alien world. Wow, I got the special weapon. This is a sure thing. Zhang Chulan said with a smile. Nobita has the gun. Now he's safe. Pineapple Blowing Snow is really confident in Nobita's shooting skills. No. That's not necessarily true. Lu Xiaowa shook his head, fanning himself with a folding fan, and retorted, "Oh, what?" Chung Liuxiang asked, "Have neither of you guys ever seen a zombie movie? Don't you know that the zombies will also evolve? After they evolve, not to mention pistols, even tanks may not be able to hit them." Is this true? Are zombies so scary? Chung Liuxiang scratched his head. It seems that Lu Xiaowa knows a lot about zombies. Then, with his innate sharpshooter talent and top-notch marksmanship, Nobita easily knocked down the two zombies. After dealing with the zombies, Nobita wanted to check on the policeman's injuries. But the police officer was powerless to save the situation. After telling Nobita that the survivors would gather at the school, he asked Nobita to be more careful. I couldn't hold on any longer and closed my eyes completely. Police. Uncle Policeman. Looking at the policeman lying on the ground with no vital signs, Daxiong suddenly felt extremely sad. At the same time, because the gunshots just now attracted a large number of zombies to surround the warehouse, Nobita could only calm down, tearfully bid farewell to the police officer, and fled all the way to the school gate. However, the disaster was far from over. When Nobita arrived at the school gate, he found two zombies gnawing at something. Not only that, many zombies appeared behind Nobita and chased after him. Obviously, the school where the survivors gathered has also fallen. Nobita quickly fled to the school's health room. But what he didn't expect was that Fat Tiger, Shizuka, Sunio, and Deki also fled there. Isn't this Nobita? Fat Tiger was stunned when he saw Nobita suddenly rushing in. Nobita was also very surprised. Fat Tiger. Everyone is here, too. Doraemon Universe. Nobita's home call. Seeing themselves in the video, Fat Tiger and the others all breathed a sigh of relief. Fortunately, he didn't turn into a zombie. Doraemon 000 said with a smile, "I told you that everything will be fine." At this time, Nobita looked at Doraemon and suddenly said, "By the way, where did Doraemon go?" Doraemon was stunned for a moment, then pointed at himself. "I'm right here, Nobita. Can't you see it?" Nobita was speechless after hearing what Doraemon said. "I'm not talking about you, but Doraemon in the video. At that time, he seemed to have helped me stop my mother. I wonder if something happened." "Don't worry." Fat Tiger patted Nobita on the shoulder and said, "Are you worried about Doraemon? He has so many powerful gadgets in his pocket. Even if he can't beat him, he can still use the anywhere door to escape." "That's right." Nobita nodded, thinking that Fat Tiger had some truth in what he said. Although it is temporarily safe now, the crisis will come sooner or later. Oh, how about hiding in the back mountain before things calm down? Xiaofu suddenly thought of something and suggested hiding in the back mountain where there were few people and animals and waiting for rescue. Back mountain, Xiaofu continued. Although the streets are full of zombies, there are almost no people or animals in the back hills. Hiding in the back hills is indeed a good idea, but food is a problem. I can only go back to the convenience store on the street to get some. The zombies are slowly gathering towards the school, so we must act quickly. As the leader of the children, Fat Tiger began to assign personnel to the operation. At last, he and Sunio went to a nearby convenience store to look for useful things, while the other three were responsible for exploring the campus. In order to stay in touch at all times, Nobita suggested going to the office to look for a mobile phone. After the group decided on the battle plan, Nobita suddenly ran into trouble and had to go to the toilet first. It really looks like Nobita, go quickly. Watch out for monsters. After a few complaints, Nobita left and went to the toilet. Oops. It's obvious that Nobita has watched too few horror movies. Hualin Fei shook his head. Oh, hearing this, Tianyu's beautiful eyes flashed, and she asked curiously, "Why do you say that?" Hualin Fei spread his hands and explained, "Don't you know that the most taboo thing in horror movies is to leave the team alone? Once you're left alone, you are basically the next to die." Long Ji frowned. "You mean Nobita will be in danger?" Of course, Hualin Fei nodded confidently, but it shouldn't be a big deal. After all, Nobita's marksmanship is there. Now Nobita should be the most powerful among those little brats. As long as you don't encounter too powerful zombies, it's generally not a problem. Tianyu raised his eyebrows. "You seem to know a lot about zombies." Of course. Hualin Fei straightened his nose proudly. Just like Pinocchio, Hualin Fei, grew up watching zombie movies. I'm not kidding. I couldn't sleep if I didn't watch a zombie movie for a day when I was a kid. This, Miao Qiaojuan said with disdain, boasting again. But just when Nobita was about to go back, several zombies suddenly rushed into the toilet looking for someone, which immediately made Nobita, who was hiding in the cubicle, hold his breath, fearing that he would be discovered by the group of zombies. Although it's not a bad idea to rush out and fight, but the bullets are limited, so it's better to avoid it if you can. After all, he didn't want to waste precious bullets in such a place. After a long time call, finally left after the roar of the zombies outside disappeared, Nobita finally put his heart at ease. Nobita returned to the health room, but found it empty. Everyone had disappeared without a trace. Everyone, where have they all gone? Just when Nobita was puzzled, he suddenly noticed a note left on the table. He picked it up and saw that it was written by Shizuka. The note says, because Nobita was too slow, the others had already started to act, and reminded Nobita to go to the office to get his cell phone. Everyone's contact number is also written on it. Oh, how stupid. When Grey Wolf saw that Fat Tiger and his men left without waiting for Nobita, he immediately shook his head in frustration. You know, Nobita is now the strongest fighter in the team, and he even has a pistol in his hand. As a result, that group of people didn't bring Nobita with them. If they encountered a few slightly stronger zombies, wouldn't they be wiped out? Dad, I think that Fat Tiger is pretty awesome, like a chimpanzee. Little Gray stood at Grey Wolf's feet and said in a baby voice. Well, Grey Wolf was stunned for a moment. Then he smiled and said, Little Gray, Fat Tiger does look very strong, but he is still too young. He has no advantage over adults, let alone those desperate monsters. Magical AO World. Hey, Xiaomi looked at the video and asked with some confusion, why didn't Fat Tiger and the others just bring another phone from the office and let Nobita run to the office to get it? Aren't they afraid of something dangerous happening? AO held his chin with his hand and thought for a while. Maybe they are afraid that the ringing of the phone will attract zombies. In this case, wouldn't it be okay to just turn off the phone ringing? Maybe because the situation was urgent, they didn't think too much about it. Think about it. There were zombies everywhere around them, and they were just children, so it was inevitable that they would be afraid, and when they were afraid, their minds would be a little confused. That makes sense. Xiaomi nodded. Ding Dong couldn't help but complain at this time. Nobita and the others seem to be about the same age as us. Why do I always feel that their elementary school life is different from ours? That's right. How come they always encounter such strange things? After getting the phone safely because the fire shutter door on the second floor was locked and he couldn't go up, Nobita had to explore the first floor now. When Nobita arrived at the cafeteria, he unexpectedly found one of his old classmates, Jifu, in the cafeteria office. But at this moment, Jifu's condition was very bad. He was covered in blood and had a huge bite wound on his body. Jifu, what's wrong with you? Daxiong frowned and asked hurriedly, Nobita, be careful. There is a huge monster in the gymnasium. Jifu panted and spoke word by word with great difficulty. Just as he finished speaking, Jifu was too seriously injured to hold on any longer and died in front of Nobita. Jifu. But no matter how Nobita called out, Gifu did not respond. Dead. Another person died in front of him. Nobita felt very complicated, but with the previous experiences, this time Nobita quickly calmed down. Nobita thought about what Gifu had just said and decided to go to the gym to find out. As soon as he stepped into the gymnasium, Nobita was frightened by the scene in front of him. The gymnasium was littered with corpses, and everyone had a huge bite mark on their body, just like Gifu. Nobita speculated that they were killed by the same monster. At this moment, Nobita suddenly felt a murderous aura coming from behind him. The strong sense of crisis made Nobita subconsciously dodge. Next second, a hard tongue went straight through the wall in front of him. Nobita was shocked. If he hadn't dodged just now, he would have been dead by now. What? Nobita turned his head and saw a huge chameleon standing behind him, opening its bloody mouth and facing him. Damn it, it's a mutant zombie. I didn't expect that there would be a mutant zombie in just 3 days. Bai Xiaofei looked unusual. He had seen many kinds of mutant zombies. Basically, each mutant zombie had a strength far beyond that of ordinary zombies. It was extremely difficult to deal with. What's more, the zombie that Nobita encountered was a zombie transformed from an animal with a huge body. Nobita might be in danger. It's a bit difficult to fight this monster with just a pistol. Uncle, is Big Brother Nobita in danger? The little deer asked with a silly look on his face while eating a lollipop. Yes. Bai Xiaofei nodded and continued to look at the screen. He wanted to see how Nobita would respond. This is only chameleon zombie? Ida Wong was stunned, but the size of this zombie seemed a little strange. How could it be so big? It seems that Nobita is in trouble. What kind of monster is this? It's so ugly it scared me. Kara patted her chest. She was frightened by the sudden appearance of the chameleon zombie. I didn't expect that not only humans can turn into zombies, but animals can also turn into zombies. And the zombies they turn into seem to be much more terrifying than ordinary zombies. The doctor didn't expect this either. The picture on the screen continued to play. Obviously, it is impossible to fight with weapons. Nobita hurriedly fled, but then he thought, fortune and wealth are sought in danger. There's so many boxes inside. Maybe they're key props, so, after hesitating for a while, Nobita returned to the gymnasium and found the key card for the fire shutter door on the second floor from a corpse. This Nobita is really too brave. Zhang Chulan was stunned. He never thought that Nobita would dare to run back. If he was caught by the chameleon by accident, he would probably be eaten to the bone. I have to say, Nobita is a very good kid. Susan admired Nobita's courage. If it were him, he might not dare to go back to the gym. Yes, the kids nowadays are really amazing. Susie also said with a motion boom. Roar. Nobita leaves the gym again, with explosions and chameleons roar behind him. Although I don't know what happened, I heard the scream of Dekizan again. The sound just now was as there a wooden fur. Nobita felt something was wrong and started looking for Izukusen. He finally found Izukusen in the family library. At this moment, he was cornered by a zombie. Fortunately, Nobita arrived in time, shot the zombies away with a few shots, and rescued Dekizan. Call. Sorry, Nobita. You really helped me a lot. I looked at Nobita gratefully. Nobita shook his head and told him not to take it seriously. It's really a close call. It's too dangerous if you don't take any weapons. Izuku has no weapons and can do nothing when he encounters zombies. The two returned to the health room together. Fat Tiger, Sunio, and Shizuka had been waiting for a long time. It seems that Nobita is fine. By the way, Nobita, if you find a phone, please call me. Fat Tiger complained. Xiaofu nodded and agreed. After such a long time without any contact, I thought you were dead. Shizuka also said, I am worried about you. Nobita, Chapter 61. Midori Kawasena. Regretful Nobita, Doraemon Universe call. Finally, we are reunited again, and I can feel a little relieved for the time being. Nobita heaved a sigh of relief when he saw everyone appear on the screen. Hey, Xiaofu sighed, his face full of worry. That chameleon zombie is already so scary. What should I do if I encounter a more powerful zombie in the future? We have no hope. Don't say such discouraging words, Sunio. Fat Tiger shouted. Doraemon nodded. Yes, I believe everyone will be safe. Shizuka also nodded, agreeing. Everyone is complaining that Nobita didn't call to let us know he's safe after finding his phone. While complaining, Nobita shared the supplies and intelligence he had found. Fat Tiger and Sunio got a lot of food and weapons and ammunition at the convenience store. Shizuka found some supplies and medicines on campus. Deki was slacking off everywhere, and Nobita told everyone about the monster he encountered in the gymnasium. Monster? After hearing what Nobita said, everyone was still frightened. It seemed that the zombie group was more complicated and more difficult to deal with than they thought. Doraemon universe. At Akatsuji's house, slacking off everywhere, Izumi was stunned and suddenly felt a little embarrassed. Nobita and the others were working hard for the team, but he was just slacking off. And if Nobita hadn't come to save him at that time, I'm afraid he would have become food for the zombies. Although that was only him in a parallel world, he still felt a little embarrassed. Hey, 877. Izuku shook his head slightly. It seems that in the era of zombie apocalypse, perhaps force is more useful. Maybe I should focus on training in the future. It seems that the school is not safe anymore. The door to the back of the school is also locked by an electronic lock. Now we have to hurry up and find a way to get to the back of the school and search for more materials. Arriving at the password room, Nobita opened the fire shutter door on the second floor, but the vent behind him suddenly fell next. A hideous and twisted monster crawled out from inside. Resident Evil World, oh. Alice was stunned when she saw the monster, because she felt that the monster seemed to be a bit similar to the licker she had encountered before. Nobita pulled out his gun and prepared to fight, but the licker jumped out the window and escaped. Ran away. This made Nobita a little confused. But without caring about that, Nobita decided to go upstairs to explore. While Nobita was exploring, the phone in his pocket rang. He picked it up and saw that it was a call from Izuki. Ask Nobita if he has seen Midori Kawasena, because Izuki just saw someone who looked very similar to her passing by. Midori Kawa, that you mean the student union president? Hearing what Dekazan said, a girl's face suddenly appeared in Nobita's mind. However, Nobita and Midori Kawasena were not very familiar with each other, but because she was a student of their school, they had some impression of her. Scream. Before I could finish my words, a girl's scream came from the corridor. Hearing the noise, Nobita rushed to rescue, but he was still a step too late. When Nobita arrived at the scene, he saw two ferocious zombies biting the girl's body. Bang! Bang! Nobita shot the zombie away with 2 shots, but he felt very regretful. If he could be faster, he would have been able to save Shingnai. Stop blaming yourself. You have tried your best, right? Izuki-shan comforted him. Doraemon universe. Nobita's home. Midori Kawasena. Isn't that the student council president of our school? Just pretend that there's a Midori Kawasena in Nobita's world. I know that Midori Kawasena is an original character in the game. Fat Tiger was stunned and couldn't help but recall the face of a girl in his mind. Yes, he is quite famous. I often hear about him from other teachers. Sunio nodded and said, I heard that he is an excellent student who is not inferior to Yukisuji. Damn it, Nobita clenched his fists, still finding it hard to accept that he was still a step too slow and failed to save the child. Nobita, you have tried your best. Shizuka, like Deki in the picture, comforted Nobita. But after coming to his senses, Nobita took a closer look and realized that this person was not Shingnai, but a student who was younger than him. Suddenly, there was a noise from the locker room next door, and Nobita decided to go check it out. One of the lockers made noise. Just in case, Daxiong took out his baton and hit the lock hard, breaking the lock. Just as he was about to open the closet, the person inside got there first and rushed out, knocking Nobita to the ground. Don't come over here. Both of them were startled by each other. At this time, Demushin also arrived. Out of the wood, it's too late. The dying Nobita thought he was going to die and fainted on the ground after saying a lot of last words. The person who emerged from the closet was Midori Kawasena, whom Nobita and Izuki were looking for. The two carried the unconscious Nobita to the infirmary. Seeing Shingnai joining them, everyone's morale was greatly boosted. But Nobita is still unconscious, so only those present can discuss the battle plan. Doraemon Universe call. It turns out that girl is not Xingnai. Xingnai is still alive. Nobita, you don't have to be so sad. Fat Tiger wanted to comfort Nobita, but Nobita shook his head. It doesn't matter whether that girl is Xingnai or not. It's a life. Hey, finally, I came too late. One Piece World. Oh, another beauty. Awesome. Sanji's eyes lit up. In his eyes, Sana was no less beautiful than Shizuka. After a long time, Nobita woke up and saw a familiar note on the table. Xingna and Shizuka went to look for information leading to the back mountain. The Fat Tiger duo continued to collect supplies, and Deki and Nobita continued to explore the school. Nobita was speechless after being left behind again. However, the others had already found the key to the fire shutter door on the 3rd floor and opened it. Shizuka called and said that she had found a clue to open the back door. They're coming in. Shizuka, run away. Xingnai's screams came from the other end of the phone. It was obvious that they were attacked by zombies. Shizuka had no choice but to hang up the phone and said she would contact Nobita later if she had a chance. Nobita had no choice but to go to the 3rd floor to explore. When he arrived at the door of the science laboratory, Nobita suddenly discovered that Doraemon and Daxiong were also here. Doraemon. Nobita was very surprised. Nobita, are you okay? Doraemon was also a little surprised, and then explained the situation to Nobita. It turns out that Daxiong was attacked by a chameleon, and the toxin spread, and he needed serum to save his life. Then Ikisuji told Nobita that there might be serum hidden in the health room. Nobita went to the health room, and after getting the serum, Nobita quickly gave it to Daxiong for injection and carried him back to the health room to rest. With Doraemon, Nobita felt relieved. He wanted Doraemon to take out some useful props from his pocket. However, unfortunately, Doraemon's 4-dimensional pocket was damaged during the fight with his mother, and Nobita's mother also died. Just when Daxiong was sad, Xingnai called. Fortunately, they were all fine, but Shizuka twisted her foot while running away, and there were zombies everywhere, making it inconvenient for them to move. At present, we can only wait for Fat Tiger to find some weapons with stronger firepower before we can go to the rescue. On the street, I'm offline so soon. Nobita Tamako recovered from her initial panic and couldn't help but twitched her lips. Anyway, she has become a zombie. So instead of continuing to hurt others in an ugly way, maybe this is the best way. Now Nobita Tamako has let go of her mind, and she will watch this video as a movie so that she won't have too much psychological burden. No way. Doraemon is useless without props. After seeing Doraemon's pocket damaged in the video, Fat Tiger and Sunio were in a bad mood. They originally thought that as long as they found Doraemon, all problems would be solved. Now it seems that this is not the case at all. Without Doraemon's props, how can they deal with zombies? What do you mean by this? Doraemon was a little angry, thinking that he would be useless without pockets. Nobita stepped forward quickly and said, "Okay, don't argue for now. One more person means more strength. Now that we have Daxiong and it will definitely be better than before." And Xingnai and the others also found clues to open the back door. And now, they need to find the password in the school. Izuki had just got the key to the science lab and was ready to explore inside. Then, Nobita and Izuki went their separate ways. Nobita hadn't taken a few steps when Izuki suddenly called and said that Chameleon was in the science lab. Bang, bang, bang. After hearing a few gunshots, I heard the screams of Dekizan on the phone. Izuki-san, Kozen. No matter how much Nobita called out, there was no response from Dekisu. This made Nobita's mood suddenly gloomy. It seemed that Izuku was in danger. Xiaozhi's scalp tingled. Could this Izuku be eaten by a chameleon? The scream just now was so scary. Don't you say the possibility is really high? Kalula was also trembling. She never dreamed that there was such a horrible world. If she were in that world, she would probably not be able to survive even a day. Even looking at the face of the zombie, she felt like she was going to have a nightmare. But zombies probably aren't interested in robots. Kalula thought so in her heart, which made her feel a little relieved. At this time, even Itieda, who always had a fanatical admiration for Nobita, was a little unconfident. After all, Even if Nobita's shooting skills were accurate, it would be difficult to defeat such a powerful zombie with just ordinary weapons. Nobita rushed to the science laboratory. Fortunately, Izukusu was not dead, but he also fell to the ground seriously injured. At this time, Fat Tiger also called and told about the situation over there. The streets were almost completely occupied by zombies, and there was no way to get more supplies. Nobita told Fat Tiger to go to the science lab immediately after returning to school and take out Mushin to heal his wounds. I hung up the phone and rushed in to fight the chameleon. Bang! It was the familiar wall penetration and the familiar eye contact. Even with his terrifying shooting skills, the disadvantage in equipment still made Nobita at a disadvantage. After a fierce battle, Nobita was still defeated by Chameleon and was knocked to the ground. At this moment, Nobita has lost his ability to fight, but fortunately, Chameleon was also seriously injured by Nobita and did not kill Nobita, but chose to escape in a panic. Alien world, fuck. Zhang Chulan couldn't help but swear. This Nobita is fake. He actually managed to win with just a small pistol. You know, with that kind of pistol, to be honest, any 4.1 alien with decent strength can basically not be hurt. And Nobita actually used it to beat the big chameleon away. Facing the chameleon, Zhang Chulan was not sure. What's more, Nobita is just an ordinary person with good marksmanship. He is not like the aliens in their world who have all kinds of strange spells. He was surprised that he could do this. Su Si on the side also complained, "My goodness, is this Nobita really a primary school student? With this skill and this marksmanship, I would believe he is a special forces soldier. Pigman world, one, but it doesn't seem to be completely one. But it's good that he's okay." Pigsy looked at the screen nervously and only relaxed slightly after seeing the chameleon run away. Superman Kang saw this scene and snorted with disdain. Weak. It's really too weak. If I were to go up and turn into a stone bear and slap it, I'm sure the chameleon wouldn't be able to withstand it. Boss is really awesome. Poppy praised him hastily. Hearing Superman's words, a black line crossed his forehead. How dare he say that? If the stone armor bear transformation device was given to Nobita, he could still do it. The stone armor bear is the strong one, and it has nothing to do with you, Superman. If you have the ability, try to fight the chameleon without the 5 spirit lock. I'm afraid you won't be able to hold on for a few rounds before being eaten by the chameleon without leaving even a bone. Moreover, the power of the stone armor bear originally belonged to him. If I had known earlier, I shouldn't have listened to that confused old man's nonsense. Pigman felt a little regretful, but there was nothing he could do. Post views 39. Check out the title King Daxiong. All the characters in the world are Num Chapter 060 to Chapter 62. Nobita is going to turn evil. Something is wrong with Shizuka, and people's hearts in the end times in the light curtain. Nobita found the code in the science lab and dragged his tired body back to the health room. After the Fat Tiger duo scolded Nobita for acting alone, they set out to rescue Shizuka and Sena. Let Nobita stay in the health room, but with Nobita's personality, he couldn't just sit still. So he opened the fire shutter door on the 4th floor and went up to explore. Nobita was surprised to find a corpse that had been rotten for a long time. Ugh! Nobita felt nauseous and vomited, but at the same time he was also very confused. This level of decay seemed to have occurred several days ago, which also means that a murder had occurred in the school several days ago. And it seems that the people on the 4th floor were imprisoned here and died of weakness. It's terrifying when you think about it, but I can't care about that now. At this time, Doraemon called me. Shizuka and Sena were rescued safely, and Deki and Yasuo also regained their mobility and were able to return to the infirmary and prepare to escape from the school. Back in the health room, everyone introduced Doraemon to Xingnai. Just as everyone was chatting happily, Xiaofu suddenly rushed in. "What's wrong, Xiaofu? What happened?" Fat Tiger asked with some confusion. Xiaofu said in a panic, "There are so many zombies coming this way. I saw them from the window on the 4th floor. This must be a lie, right?" "How so?" Everyone was a little bit unbelievable. They were about to escape, but now they heard such desperate news. Not only that, the chameleons were blocking the back playground, attacking from both sides. Now we had to move immediately and split up. Nobita and Doraemon went to the back door to deal with the chameleon, while the fat tiger duo went to the front door to defend against the zombies. The Mermaid King. Is this the rhythm of a big war? Sophia stared at the screen intently, completely attracted by 15. Little Harry shook his head and said worriedly, "It feels a bit risky. How can we fight so many zombies with just a few children? And just the chameleon alone? I'm afraid they can't deal with it. Resident Evil World, oh. Poor children, you must persevere." Alice clasped her hands together, closed her eyes, and prayed devoutly for Daxiong and the others. Arriving at the back playground, Chameleon saw Nobita and immediately took an attacking stance. The ferocious bloody mouth was opened wide, and the sharp teeth inside were covered with traces of blood, which was extremely creepy. Not only that, there are a bunch of lost dogs around. Fortunately, Doraemon helped to clean up the lost dog, and Nobita focused on fighting the chameleon. After several rounds of back and forth, the chameleon was vaguely in the lower position. As the battle progresses, Nobita's combat experience gradually increases, which greatly improves his combat effectiveness. Moreover, although this chameleon is powerful, it may not have much IQ and its attacks are extremely simple. After a few rounds, Nobita has roughly figured out its attack method. "You only have one breath left. Wake up, you monster!" Just when Nobita was about to give Chameleon the final blow, Chameleon suddenly broke his moral code and attacked him with a sneak attack. The tough tongue shot out, and Nobita was unable to react and was directly knocked several meters away. At the critical moment, Xiong rushed over with a grenade launcher and pressed the fire button directly at the chameleon. Bang! Fire flew everywhere, and a few grenades hit the chameleon, killing him on the spot. "Are you kidding me?" Seeing this scene, Bai Xiaofei's eyes popped out of his head in shock. How did you little kids find a grenade launcher? He felt that his IQ seemed to be greatly insulted. He had wanted to collect grenade launchers and high explosive grenades before, but he gave up soon because he couldn't find them at all. Such things were only possible in places related to the military. Even in a zombie apocalypse, there would generally be survivors in such places, and ordinary survivors like him could not enter. So it is almost impossible for ordinary people to get such weapons. At best, they can get a pistol. Even an automatic rifle is not available to many people. This is why he was so shocked when he saw Xiong take out the grenade launcher. These kids collected supplies in less than a day, and they were able to get this kind of weapon. Could it be that in their world, grenade launchers are cabbages that can be found everywhere? On the other side, the corpse King Long Yu was also staring at the screen all the time. Oh, was he killed by a grenade launcher? It seems this zombie not as strong as I thought. Long Yu shook his head. But it's true, he was almost shot to death by Nobita. No matter how strong he is, a zombie without self-awareness is still useless. For a zombie, the most important thing is to have self-awareness. Otherwise, it's just a walking corpse. The picture on the screen continues to play, although it was to avenge his past. Everyone attributed all the credit to Xiong. Never thought about it. This chameleon was seriously injured by Nobita, and he never thought that it was Nobita who created the opportunity for Xiong to hit the chameleon. These are all earned by Nobita with his own life safety. Awesome. Xiong, so handsome. That's amazing, Xiong. When you suddenly rushed out, I was worried if something happened to you. Xiong is so awesome. He can kill the monster that attacked Mokusin and Nobita. Everyone praised Xiong's skills. Nobita looked at this scene with a gloomy face, feeling very uncomfortable in his heart. It was clearly his contribution to defeating the chameleon, but they only noticed Xiong and ignored him. Doraemon, I am not willing to accept this. Nobita lowered his head and said in a low voice, Nobita, be patient. Doraemon advised, and his expression became as gloomy as Nobita's. Why do I feel like Nobita is going to turn evil? Zhang Chulan scratched his head and said with a frown. After all, it would be hard for anyone to accept that such a great achievement was taken away from them. Didn't Xiong just come and steal someone's head in the end? If it were me, I would not be able to bear it either. Nobita is still just a child, and it is normal for him to have such emotions. Susie explained. Susan also nodded. But I think Nobita's character is okay. He should not be evil or anything. He just feels unbalanced in his heart. Crayon Shinchan world. Yes, that's the feeling. I understand it too well. Noera, Hiroshi said as he slammed the table hard, scaring Mia, Shinchan, and Aoi beside him. Dad, what's wrong with you? Shinosuke asked. My dad is like this in the company too. It's obviously a good plan planned by me, but in the end it has to be handed over to other departments to execute. Woo-woo. I put in so much effort, but in the end, all the benefits went to other departments. Although I know this is common for office workers, I still think it's too unfair. Guangxi couldn't help crying. Nobita's experience was exactly the same as his in the workplace. People say that once you enter the workplace, it's like entering a deep sea, and you can fall into an abyss if you're not careful. This sentence is really not a random statement. So even if he is unwilling in his heart, he can only swallow his unhappiness in his heart. Otherwise, if he loses his job, how can he support his family? Oh, this is why you are the section chief for eternity, Dad. Stupid Shinchan. You should comfort your daddy in this kind of situation. But in this crisis, it doesn't matter who killed him. The electronic lock on the back mountain was also unlocked, and everyone set out to arriving at the foot of the mountain. Nobita fainted due to long-term high-intensity combat and anemia, and the others were also exhausted. Everyone decided to take a break, and the oldest one, Xingnai, decided to explore the front. Others were a little worried because it was too dangerous to act alone in this situation. However, Xingnai has made up her mind. She also wants to play a role as much as possible. After all, she can't always be protected by everyone. Almost all the boys in the whole grade are fans of Xingnai, and Fat Tiger is an old fan of Xingnai. And Xingnai's bravery also captured everyone's heart, but apart from Doraemon, no one noticed that Shizuka looked a little lost. Doraemon Universe. And Nobita's Oma. When did I become a fan of Xingnai? Fat Tiger touched the back of his head. His two clear big eyes were full of confusion. Xiaofu shook his head and explained, I said it's a parallel world. It must be different from our world. I'm not that kind of person. Shizuka pouted. She wasn't the jealous type. As a girl, she certainly understood why she felt depressed in the video. It was because she was jealous of Xingnai. Next steps, the perspective is coming to Xingnai. Xingnai walked along the mountain road, killing many lost dogs along the way, and came to a courtyard. Two hideous monsters that looked like green gorillas attacked her. After a hard fight, the green gorilla was knocked down by Xingnai. But although she defeated the monster, Xingnai collapsed to the ground in fear. However, thinking of her friends behind her, she stood up again. Leading everyone to the courtyard, there was actually a hotel in front. Why is it built in such a place? Xingnai was a little surprised. How could there be a hotel in such a deserted and sparsely populated place like the back mountain? Doraemon guessed. It may be an older building that had been left here since it was abandoned. Although this hotel is a bit suspicious, we can only hide inside for a while. There were zombies in the hotel, but they were easily dealt with by Nobita and his friends. Several people found a lounge and used it as a temporary base. Xingnai intends to continue exploring the interior of the hotel. Despite repeated dissuasion from others, Xingnai arrives at the hotel lobby, where an injured yellow-haired boy appears. He said there were monsters around and asked Xingnai to take him away from here. Not good. It's Huang Mao. We're in danger now. Zhang Chulin's face changed, as if facing a great enemy. Su-san on the side pushed his glasses and turned his head to look at Zhang Chulan. Well, Chulan, have you discovered anything? No. Zhang Chulan shook his head and replied decisively. Then why did you say it's dangerous now? The doubt in Su-san's eyes became even more intense. Zhang Chulan said, Brother Su-san, haven't you watched the anime over at Sakura? Don't you know the danger of the yellow-haired guy? If the yellow-haired guy is really taken back by Xingnai, Shizuka and Xingnai will be in danger. Hearing Zhang Chulin's words, Su-san was even more confused. Seeing Su-san's expression, Zhang Chulan immediately realized that the other party didn't understand and shook his head helplessly. Hey, it seems that Brother Su, you are still too young. Talisman World, wow. This yellow-haired guy doesn't look like a good person at first glance. Xiaoyu folded her hands over her chest, looking at the yellow-haired guy in the video, and said. Hearing this, Chunlong frowned. Xiaoyu, how many times have I told you? Don't judge people by their appearance. This is very uncivilized. Yes, Uncle Long. Xiaoyu yawned and replied weakly. Chunlong looked helpless, and Xiaoyu didn't listen. The video on the screen continued to play. Before Xingnai could take any action, two purple-skinned monsters fell from the sky. Next, under Xingnai's horrified and shocked gaze, the yellow-haired man was actually torn into two pieces. Seeing this horrifying scene in front of him, Xingnai's pupils shrank, and he screamed. At this time, the two purple monsters also turned around and attacked Xingnai. But, although he was terrified, Xingnai still managed to kill the two monsters. This scene stunned everyone in the world. They thought Xingnai would be in danger, but the purple-skinned monster was killed by Xingnai. Is this the legendary saying, the harder you yell, the harder you fight? Holy shit, I didn't expect this Seina to be so strong. It looks like his strength is not inferior to Nobita at all. Poor purple monster probably thought he could win if he scared Xingnai, but in the end, two of them couldn't beat one. Xingnai is so amazing, my goddess. Get out of the way. Xingnai can only be mine. Yosi, I like this kind of capable and strong girls the most. We boys also need a sense of security. Everyone upstairs. Xingnai is mine. Draw your sword. Xingnai's fame gradually rose in the world. After all, who doesn't like a beautiful and capable girl? Post views. 37 check out the title King Daxiong. All the characters in the world are Num Chapter 063, Chapter 63. The reason for the zombie outbreak, Nobita's despair, the terrible biological weapons, the tyrant. In the light curtain, after dealing with the two purple monsters, Xingnai found the battery in the next room and found an elevator in the basement of a room. This elevator seems to lead to the underground. Xingnai returned to the lounge, called everyone to come and find out what happened, and then fainted. I took the elevator down to the underground and found that there were many tunnels dug there. Not only that, there is no signal from mobile phones underground. Nobita said he would explore the front by himself. After all, he is the fastest runner here. Although Fat Tiger is very worried, he can only leave it to Nobita first. Doraemon Universe A. Nobita is the fastest runner among us. Sunio was incredulous. After all, how could Nobita be the fastest runner among them, since he would be out of breath, even after running 50 meters? Well, it's a parallel world. Anything is possible. Doraemon explained casually whenever something happened. That's right, don't worry about these details. Don't disturb us watching the video. Fat Tiger shouted. After a while, Nobita found a man dressed as a mercenary in a pit, with wounds all over his body. From him, I learned that he was sent here by Umbrella Corporation to rescue a researcher in a facility. But a traitor appeared in the team. But before he could finish his words, bang! A bullet came from nowhere and killed the mercenary. Nobita was startled. His head quickly looked around and he shouted, "Who is it?" He wanted to check on the mercenary's injuries, but the mercenary's heart was completely pierced and there was no possibility of saving him. The Umbrella he mentioned is a large pharmaceutical company, but who knows what they're doing behind the scenes? Now, it seems that this Umbrella Corporation is definitely not as simple as it seems. Perhaps this zombie incident is related to Umbrella. Resident Evil World. Alice opened her pink lips slightly, her face full of shock. The plot is surprisingly consistent. The zombie virus in their world was developed by the Umbrella Corporation, but it was accidentally leaked, and there's also an Umbrella Corporation in Nobita's world. And both companies are large pharmaceutical companies. Is it a coincidence? Alice was a little confused. The zombie virus must have been leaked from the Layla company. Based on his years of experience watching zombie movies, Bai Xiaofei quickly came to this conclusion. Even though the clues are incomplete, we have no choice but to keep moving forward. Nobita accidentally discovered that a man who looked very similar to Izuki was communicating with someone. From the content of the conversation, he learned that the person who fired the gun just now was him. Nobita went up to ask, and after learning that this person was not Dekisuji, Nobita also became wary. It doesn't matter who it is. In order to protect the information, you must die here. In order to protect the information, the other party intends to kill Nobita. What? Hateful. Nobita subconsciously wanted to fire back, but the opponent was too fast and shot Nobita in the arm first. But even so, the mysterious man was also in a state of turmoil. The speed of drawing the gun just now. This guy is definitely not a simple kid. But the other party did not kill Nobita immediately, but kept talking in a way that Nobita could not understand. Just at this moment, a giant spider suddenly appeared behind him and entangled him with silk. What was even more coincidental was that there was a big pit nearby, and the man fell right in. Glacier Star. Seeing this scene, Kara's mouth twitched, and she couldn't help but complain. Is it so casual? Although she didn't want anything to happen to Nobita, she really couldn't understand why this guy didn't just finish off Nobita, but also had to talk so much to Nobita. Huolin Fei was also confused and pointed at the screen. No. Does anyone here know how to finish off the enemy? If I had finished off the opponent, there wouldn't be so many problems. I'm a little suspicious whether this guy is here to make fun of me. Meow. Tiaojuan nodded. Well, it's still very important to finish off the opponent here. Don't forget to finish off the opponent in the future. Of course, Huolin Fei continued. Forget about finishing off the enemy. I won't feel at ease until I burn the enemy to ashes. BFF. Doraemon Universe. In Izuki's home. Izuki looked at the screen and scratched his head. Could it be that I have a twin brother in that world? But it seems that the guy who looks like me is not a good person. The video on the screen continued to play. Nobita looked at the huge mutant spider in front of him and thought of the chameleon he had defeated before. There was no way to run now, and he was injured, so it was impossible for him to escape. Escape? There's no escape. We can only fight. Nobita wanted to fight with the spider, but even though he was injured, his fighting power remained undiminished. And under the pressure of tense nerves, Nobita's fighting spirit was even higher. After a few rounds, the spider was actually solved by Nobita. After Nobita solved the spider, he picked up a C4 bomb next to the pit. A hole was blown open, and there was an elevator behind it. Nobita called everyone here. Seeing that Nobita was injured, everyone was a little worried about him. Nobita, even if I beg you, please don't do such dangerous things again. Really, Nobita, you are such an idiot. Are you okay? Seer World hiss. As expected of Mr. Nobita, even when he is injured, he can still have such a strong fighting power. Achira took a breath of cold air. He almost felt that Nobita was omnipotent. Such a huge spider zombie was solved by him so easily alone, and even with his right arm injured. The novel was taken from the Rala's website. Close where you're reading it, and support us on our website for more free novels. I feel like Nobita is growing so fast. Xiaozhi was also shocked by Nobita's current strength. Just a few hours ago, he was still a guy who hesitated for a long time before fighting zombies. But now he has the ability to deal with large zombies alone. This growth rate is too exaggerated. Kalulu clasped her hands together and looked at Nobita with some admiration. I feel in that apocalyptic era, staying with Nobita seems to be very safe. That's true. Achira and Xiaozhi both nodded. No, buddy. Bai Xiaofei was stunned. A primary school student could actually beat the spider zombie and blow up the cave with a C4 bomb. Even though it was the apocalypse, it had only been 3 days. Aren't today's primary school students too brave? Now, Bai Xiaofei thought that Nobita was stronger than him. When he was Nobita's age, the C4 bomb he touched was in the blasting mode of crossfire. The result is, today's children are actually starting to play with genuine products. However, it is obviously unreasonable to have such a large facility here. But generally such large facilities must have escape routes inside. Explore it, and maybe you can find a way to escape. Here, Nobita found some confidential research materials of Umbrella. It records the data of some monsters encountered so far. It seems that many monsters were released into the city by them. The last one is codenamed Tyrant. They didn't see any specific pictures here. It seems that the world has suddenly become like this. It is indeed Umbrella's doing. At last, There is only the fourth underground floor left to explore. At this time, Izuku also arrived and accompanied Nobita. Izuku found some secret information. This is Umbrella's secret military research institute. They are researching a virus codenamed T, which can mutate any living creature while strengthening their physicality and ferocity. Eventually become a biological weapon. What's even more exaggerated is that if it is used on humans, it may be able to revive dead cells. If used in medicine, it may allow some immobilized limbs to function again. Naruto World. Shippuden period reviving dead cells? Orochimaru spit out his snake tongue and watched the video on the screen with interest. At this moment, he no longer had any interest in the village, the position of Hokage, etc., and devoted himself to eternal life. However, he has indeed developed a way to barely make himself immortal, which is to take over the bodies of other people and continue to exist. But this is not the immortality he wants. But the so-called T-virus in the video has given him a good idea. Although the T-virus seems to have some side effects, as long as it is developed more, he is confident that he can definitely produce a completely perfect T-virus drug. Thinking of this, Orochimaru's vertical pupils flashed, and he looked at the screen excitedly. He wanted to understand how the so-called T-virus was developed. His seeing other worlds is much more interesting than I thought. Resident Evil world, what? T-virus. Alice was stunned. Their world also had the T-virus, and it was because of the T-virus that the zombie apocalypse occurred. And it was because of the injection of the T-virus that she gained superpowers and a physique beyond ordinary people. She didn't expect that there was also a T-virus in Nobita's world, and its function was to mutate organisms. As a biological weapon, this was too coincidental. Alice was now a little suspicious the world Nobita lives in is not the same as hers. Is it? However, the T-virus in their world was developed by Umbrella, not Umbrella in the picture. But even if you recover, if you don't continue to inject antiviral drugs, your cells will mutate and your body will die. Then resurrected once again, becoming the Walking Dead because the mutant skin will continue to rot. And due to the rapid metabolism, the zombies have extremely strong vitality, so they will provide the huge energy needed for metabolism. It will be solved by eating. Before the virus spread, it made sense that Nobita and his friends were not infected while on vacation, but Izuki and the others were fine. Maybe they had antibodies in their bodies. And in front is the most important confidential area, which seems to contain the essence of their research. Something is sleeping in a huge sealed chamber, unable to resist their curiosity. Nobita and Daxiong moved closer to take a closer look and found that there was a terrifying monster lying inside. 8 feet tall and like a giant. Just by looking at its appearance, one can tell that this monster is much more powerful than the chameleons and spiders they encountered before. If this monster gets out, the consequences will be disastrous. After that, Daxiong hurriedly looked for a self-destruct device to destroy the base. However, as soon as Chu Mushin left, the computer next to him started up and opened the door of the sealed cabin. Bang! An explosion sounded, and the sealed cabin was blown up directly. Next, under Nobita's horrified gaze, the 8-foot-tall monster slowly walked out. Every time Nobita took a step, he could feel the floor vibrate. Doraemon World. Mermaid King, it's over. It's over. How did this monster appear? Sophia looked at the screen nervously, her beautiful eyes not daring to move. Little Harry, do you think Nobita can be a match for this monster? Hearing Sophia's words, little Harry on the side subconsciously answered that it was impossible. However, after thinking about it, he decided not to hit the princess so hard, so he changed his statement to a more tactful one. It's unlikely. After all, princess, you can see the strength of this monster. It's totally different from the chameleon and spider. To be honest, this monster can crush me to pieces with just one step. So, I think you should not hold too much hope, but Mr. Nobita may still have a chance to escape. After all, he is so big, so he should not be very fast. Although he said this, little Harry still had no confidence that Nobita could escape. He said this purely to comfort the princess. After all, The princess seemed to have different feelings for Mr. Nobita. Ah! Nobita was so frightened that his face turned pale. Hey, why did this monster come out? How do you want me to fight this kind of monster? This gurgle. Doraemon swallowed his saliva, laughed dryly, and opened his mouth with difficulty. Believe you can do it. Nobita, kill him. Kill him. Me? Nobita pointed at himself, then shook his head quickly, like a rattle. Impossible, impossible. You saw that when a monster walked, the ground shook. I would be turned into a meat paste if I was hit by it. Ah, why do you want me to fight this kind of monster? Nobita's mentality collapsed. He found that he seemed to encounter all kinds of monsters. Chameleon, spider monster, and this time, the giant. He is too unlucky. Post views. 34 check out the title King Daxiong. All the characters in the world are Num Chapter 064 Chapter 64. Once the Resident Evil is over, the talented brother Hua Linfei, Resident Evil World, that is Tyrant. Alice was stunned and recognized the giant monster in the picture. After all, she had also encountered a tyrant in their world, and it was very similar to the giant monster in the picture. Oh my god, this is bad. Alice shook her head. Even though she had been injected with the T virus and could be described as a superhero, she was extremely passive when facing the tyrant. Even if Nobita's shooting skills were good, his physical fitness was just that of an ordinary person. It was really unrealistic to want to beat the tyrant. Giant world, is this the tyrant? Why does he look so ordinary? Alan scratched his head. The size of this tyrant was about the same as the pure giant in their world. As someone who is used to seeing giants, he did not think this tyrant was that powerful. After all, in his opinion, the taller the giant, the stronger it should be. Hearing Alan's words, Mikasa shook her head. She saw more deeply than Alan and said calmly, "Don't think like that, Alan." The tyrant's skin looked very hard, and it was completely different from the pure giant that could be chopped off with a single blow. The strength of this tyrant should not be underestimated. Alan, you have to watch carefully. Is this true? Alan still doesn't believe it. 030 Super Beast World, oh my god. I discovered something big. Hualin Fei said suddenly, what's the matter? Tianyu and the others all looked towards Hualin Fei. Hualin Fei did not hide it and explained, "Don't you think this Chu Mushin is suspicious? Why was the tyrant released as soon as he left? This is too much of a coincidence. I think this tyrant might have been released by him." Hearing this, Miao Qiaojuan touched his chin and nodded, thinking that what Hualin Feishu said made some sense. It's possible. Wasn't there a guy who looked very similar to Dekisu before who wanted to kill Nobita? This Dekisu is really suspicious. The video screen continued to play. A huge monster walked out of the closed cabin, and the surrounding doors were sealed. Nobita had no way to escape. Nobita was shocked when he saw the huge figure. It seemed that this was the tyrant they were studying. Unable to escape, Nobita had no choice but to fight. Since Nobita's physical condition is not very good at the moment, he first took out a bottle of first aid spray to restore his body functions to the best condition. At the same time, he pulled out his pistol and pointed it at the tyrant. Roar! The tyrant roared, and the terrible sound waves seemed to tear off Nobita's eardrums. Bang! The tyrant slapped the ground hard, and the terrible force directly cracked the ground. Fortunately, Nobita was agile and dodged the tyrant's attacks again and again. After a few rounds, Nobita discovered that although the tyrant's power was terrifying, he was also like the zombies he had encountered before and had no self-awareness. He was just acting on his body's instincts, which made his movements very slow and sluggish. But his terrifying power also means that Nobita cannot afford to make a single mistake. After a long time, under Nobita's constant pulling, the tyrant still couldn't bear it anymore and fell to the ground. Looking at the tyrant lying on the ground, Nobita wiped the cold sweat off his body. The reason he was able to defeat this guy this time was mainly because of the favorable surrounding environment, which allowed him to deal with this tyrant. Shihue World, he was defeated just like that. I thought this tyrant was very powerful. In the sheep village, Lazy Sheep took out a bag of chips and stuffed them into his mouth, while he couldn't help but complain. He thought there would be a wonderful battle, But in the end, Nobita was just walking the dog the whole time. How come this tyrant looks so stupid that he didn't even touch Nobita? Pleasant Goat glanced at Lazy Goat. If Nobita is really hit by the tyrant, I'm afraid he won't be able to withstand it. Didn't you see that the tyrant can break the earth with one punch? Don't think Nobita looks so relaxed. It's all because Nobita's movements are so agile, and he didn't make any mistakes at all. If you were Nobita's replacement, you would probably be punched to the ground by the tyrant in less than 10 seconds. What are you talking about? Hearing what Pleasant Goat said, Lazy Goat immediately became dissatisfied. My speed is not inferior to Nobita at all. Come on, lazy sheep. Fiang Yang rolled his eyes and said, you guys are either sleeping or eating. Every time Big Gray Wolf comes to catch sheep, you run slower than beautiful sheep. And you are the same as Nobita. That's right, lazy sheep. You are so shameless to say that. Mei Yang also said, win-win. Little Harry was stunned. This was not what he imagined. This was not right. Yay, we won. Sophia raised her arms and shouted excitedly. After defeating the tyrant, Nobita opened the door and planned to escape from the scene. The Institute's radio suddenly announced that the emergency self-destruction program here had been activated and could not be turned off. The only way was to rush to the 5th underground floor and take the train to escape. Dekisuji uses the radio to tell everyone to go to the underground train location and tells Nobita that there is confidential information on the 3rd floor underground. After escaping, this is strong evidence to defeat Umbrella, but the door will automatically lock in 2 minutes, so we must hurry. Fortunately, Nobita ran fast and got the confidential information at lightning speed. He came to the elevator and met with everyone. Everyone got on the train, but just as Doraemon and Nobita were about to get on, the tyrant who was originally defeated by Nobita fell from the sky and broke the ceiling directly and fell down. Nobita let Doraemon get on the car first, and he stayed behind to deal with the tyrant at this time. The radio broadcast that the Institute would explode in 5 minutes. But the tyrant was really thick-skinned and tough, and Nobita's attacks had no effect at all and could not cause much damage to the tyrant at all. At this time is urgent, and there is not much time to fight a protracted war with this tyrant. At this critical moment, Fat Tiger threw a love rocket launcher directly from the tram. Nobita picked up the rocket launcher and fired it directly to send the tyrant into the sky. At last, after the group fled by car, an explosion also occurred in the Institute. Although they escaped this time, they all lost their way. Just when I was feeling confused about the surroundings, the train arrived at the station. Everyone prepared to go to the police station first, but the station was unusually quiet. Next second, roar! A zombie growled and pounced towards them. I didn't expect that this place was also infected. Everyone raised their weapons. It seems that the direction of advancement is right in front of us. Bang! With the sound of a gunshot, the picture went completely dark. Then, a line of scarlet text appeared on it. What kind of dangers will Nobita and his friends encounter next? Can they uncover Umbrella's crimes? And what Umbrella's real purpose is? The first part of Nobita Nobi's Resident Evil ends. Please stay tuned for the second part. With a swish, the screen went completely dark. Oh my god! Looking at the screen with no picture on it, Pineapple blowing snow directly took out his treasure island. It's over. What about the next plot? There are still so many holes that have not been filled. Chun Liuxiang was also very uncomfortable. It's so exciting to watch. And you tell me it's over? Also, doesn't it say there's a second part? Let's just wait for it. Lu Xiao was sniffed his nose and spoke. Doraemon Universe, Nobita's home. Ah, it's over now. Are you sure you're not kidding? Nobita and the others stared at the dimming light screen with their eyes wide open, completely stunned. Damn it! Fat Tiger clenched his fist and said unhappily, I really want to know what happens next. Me too, Nobita said dejectedly. At this time, Shizuka found that Doraemon seemed to be investigating something and asked with some doubt, Little Dora, what are you doing? Hearing Shizuka's words, Doraemon replied, I want to see if there is an umbrella corporation in our world. So what? Nobita asked. No. Doraemon shook his head. No matter how hard I search, I can't find any information. It seems that this company only exists in that parallel world. Are other places infected too? Alice asked, but this was actually within her expectations. If the T-virus in Nobita's world was similar to the T-virus in her world, then based on its terrible infectiousness, I'm afraid the entire Earth would have almost fallen. But do you want to use that confidential document to expose Umbrella Corporation? To be honest, Alice didn't have much confidence in Nobita's plan. Even if Nobita had the key evidence, it was a pipe dream for a few kids to overthrow the world's top company. As long as Umbrella Corporation did a little public relations, the so-called key evidence of Nobita and his friends would be useless. The video has ended. The reward has been issued. Please check it in time. Doraemon Universe. A golden light sprinkled from the light curtain and fell steadily into Nobita's hand. The golden light dissipated, and Nobita looked closely and found that he was holding a bottle of medicine. T-virus. No side effects after taking this medicine. You will gain strength and speed beyond that of ordinary people, and your strength can be greatly increased by 2.0 without losing your mind and becoming a zombie. Note: this potion can only be opened by the recipient. Others do not have the permission to open it. No matter what method is used, it cannot be opened. As long as the potion bottle is not opened, it can be stored permanently. T-virus. Nobita was shocked and almost threw the potion on the ground. After all, the previous scene left a shadow on him. The zombies in it were all caused by this T-virus. But soon, Nobita reacted. This T-virus actually has no side effects. Does this mean I won't become a zombie? But even so, Nobita still didn't want to inject the T-virus, so he finally put it in Doraemon's pocket. Anyway, as long as it is not opened, it can be stored permanently, so there is no rush. It won't be too late to take it when you're interested in it in the future. Doraemon hesitated. Will this thing leak? Nobita shook his head and explained, only I can open this potion. Others can't open it even if they use a nuclear bomb. Doraemon was relieved to hear Nobita's words. Soon, the light screen flashed again, and a new round of inventory videos began. Super Beast World, the protagonist who was beaten the most times in the whole play. But he is also the talent ceiling of the entire film. Hualin Fei, post views, 37. Check out the title King Daxiong. All the characters in the world are Num Chapter 065, Chapter 65. Hualin Fei keeps getting beaten. Is he the one who is naturally endurable? Super Beast World, Fire Lin Fei, oh my god. How did you make the list? Looking at the three big words Hualin Fei on the screen, Miao Xiaozhi was stunned and quickly looked at Hualin Fei beside him. His mood was extremely complicated. As the saying goes, I don't want my brothers to suffer too much, but I also don't want my brothers to ride on Land Rover. What is more difficult to accept than failure is the success of my brothers. Miao Xiaozhi's mood at this time is similar to these two sentences. He didn't expect that Hualin Fei would actually be able to get on this light curtain one day. Hualin Fei noticed Miao Xiaozhi's eyes, and the corners of his mouth curled up immediately. How come in your eyes, fat man? I don't deserve to be on this list. Haha. I can only say that all this is in my plan. You just brag. Miao Xiaozhi immediately complained. At this time, Hualin Fei touched his chin, carefully looked at the introduction on the screen, and couldn't help but swear. Damn, what does this light curtain mean? In the previous sentence, he said that I was the one who was beaten up the most times, and in the next second he said that I was gifted. Is this a compliment or a scolding? Hualin Fei was speechless at this time. He didn't know how to perform well because of this compliment and scolding. Miao Xiaozhi laughed and said, that's easy. Maybe he just said that you have a talent for getting beaten. Fatty, are you looking for death? Tianyu and the others on the side looked at Hualin Fei, playing with Slim June, and suddenly became suspicious. Is this guy really the most talented among them? Oh my god, it turned out to be Hualin Fei. Isn't he from the Super Beast world? Pineapple blowing snow pulled the corner of his mouth. The feeling of seeing an acquaintance on a light screen made him a little unsure of what to say. Note: the Fruity Robo Force world and the Super Beast Armed world know each other. In Super Beast Armed, Slim June is a person who has seen Fruity Robo Force 16, Hualin Fei. Chung Liuxiang touched his chin. and a thoughtful look appeared on his orange-yellow face. He soon thought of it. Now I remember, he's the guy who talks the most dirty words. I didn't expect that even he would be on the list this time. When can I be on the list too? Chung Liuxiang thought so. He didn't think he was any worse than Huolin Fei. Wrong. Lu Xiao shook his head. I will be the first one to be on the list. Doraemon World, Huolin Fei. Fat Tiger raised his eyebrows. This guy's name is a bit pretentious. Nobita touched his head. The most talented and being beaten up, isn't this a bit contradictory? If you really have talent, you shouldn't be beaten up. Doraemon shook his head. Not necessarily. After all, even a genius needs time to grow. Haven't you read those martial arts novels in the East? Even if a martial arts genius encounters an old monster who has practiced for a lifetime, as soon as he goes out, he will probably die. Super Beast Armed World. The Lion King looked at the name of Huolin Fei on the light screen and was a little absent-minded for a while. Oh, Huolin Fei. I didn't expect it would be his turn this time. The screen flashed. The Ultra Beast Armored Universe is extremely complex. There are 7 parallel universes in that world. Under normal circumstances, there is no way to connect between the 7 parallel universes. But every 100,000 years, there are 7 days in which a channel will form between the 7 parallel universes, allowing people to travel to other parallel worlds. And there are 2 huge forces in the world of Super Beast Armor. They're the Wolf Clan, led by Pluto, and the White Tiger Clan, led by the Snow Queen. Because of the different philosophies between Pluto and Snow Queen, there are often frictions between the 2 forces. 100,000 years ago, the Pluto, the ruler of the 5th universe, launched a cosmic war, but for various reasons he was sealed in the Xianming coffin by the Snow Queen, and has continued to this day. Another 100,000 years have passed, and the passages between the parallel universes have been opened again. Pluto's men want to find the key to the mysterious netherworld, open the coffin, and release Pluto. Huolin Fei and other members of the Super Beast Armed Forces want to prevent the resurrection of Hades. And that's how the story begins. The light curtain roughly introduces the background of the Super Beast Armed Forces with a few lines of text. 7 parallel universes? This setting is really great. Xiaoyu shouted excitedly. Chun Long touched his chin. Isn't this the classic story of the Justice Team, defeating the bad guys? Super Beast Armed World. Pluto sat high on the throne. Looking at the introduction on the screen, he shook his head. Maybe people in other worlds think I'm a bad person. Starting a space war? War is not always a bad thing. Although he felt that the light screen seemed to describe him as a villain, he didn't care. He would not change because of other people's opinions. Ben 10 World what? Isn't this just the most cliched plot of defeating the bad guys and saving the world? Tian Xiaoban said speechlessly, which made him a little disappointed. He no longer liked to watch such cliched plots. Huolin Fei, how many physical beatings has the protagonist endured? The next second, a young man with red hair and wearing red armor appeared in the picture. Naruto World. During the Shippuden period, the Hidden Mist Village wow. Meidarumi's eyes lit up. This is Huolin Fei. He's actually a strong young man, and he looks pretty good. She licked her lips secretly and added Huolin Fei to her list of potential marriage partners. King, who was standing by, saw the slightly fanatical expression of her own Mizukage and immediately guessed what she was thinking and sighed helplessly. Could this be the obsession of older single women? The armed world of super beasts. I look pretty handsome in this photo. Huolin Fei admired his handsome photo, then shook his head hastily. No. What do you mean by how many physical beatings I have received? What does that mean? I have always been the only one who beats others. Who else can beat me? Huolin Fei was very dissatisfied and always felt that this light curtain was slandering him. Hee. Hearing Huolin Fei's words, Tianyu beside him laughed. The video on the screen began to play. This is Huolin Fei, the most experienced baby in the Super Beast Armed Forces. There might be some controversy over who is the strongest among the Super Beast Armored Forces, but the one who has taken the most hits is definitely Huolin Fei. Whenever he was beaten, he never fell behind. He was either being beaten or on the way to being beaten or being told off. Even in a combined battle, he is still the darling of the beaten world, and his main focus is on getting beaten. As the protagonist who is beaten by most characters, even passing dogs can beat him up. So let's take a look at his life of being beaten. Oh my god! Slander, pure slander. Huolin Fei raised his head and roared. The few short sentences at the beginning of the video completely crushed his already fragile self-esteem. He is actually called an experienced baby? And even passing dogs can beat him up? Ha ha ha! But when others saw this, they couldn't help but laugh out loud. The nightmare should start at the 12th minute of the 5th episode, when Huolin Fei and Tianyu fought against the Lion King's troops, and as expected, were severely beaten by the Lion King's subordinate, Silver Lion. In the picture, at this time, Huolin Fei was still laughing and flirting with Tianyu, and had not yet realized the seriousness of the problem. The next second, a guy covered in silver armor appeared in front of Huolin Fei. He was none other than the Lion King's subordinate, Silver Lion. Seeing Silver Lion, Huolin Fei quickly took a fighting stance, but it was of no use. He was hit by an uppercut, a left kick, and various other moves from the Silver Lion, leaving him no room to fight back. In the end, he was punched into the air by the Silver Lion, and then the Silver Lion flashed to the top of Huolin Fei's head and kicked him in the head again. Ah! Huolin Fei was kicked to the ground again, lying on the ground in a mess, unable to get up. The screen was filled with Huolin Fei's screams. Huolin Fei, the energy is seriously insufficient. Seer world, he was beaten to the point of being unable to take care of himself after just one encounter. Isn't this Huolin Fei too miserable? Xiaozhi was stunned. The Silver Lion had been on the scene for less than 10 seconds when he was knocked to the ground without any ability to resist. It was simply too scary. Humph! Ishida snorted coldly and said disdainfully, "It seems that Huolin Fei is a weakling. I thought he could at least withstand a few moves, but he couldn't block any of them." Kalulu was also a little surprised. Looking at his posture, I thought he was a professional, but it seems that this is not the case. Super Beast Armed World, looking at himself being beaten severely in the picture. Huolin Fei's face was full of black lines. At this moment, he felt a little ashamed and wanted to dig a hole to bury himself. Damn it, this light curtain actually exposed my dark history. How inhumane! Ha ha ha! Miao Qiaojuan smiled and said, "I told you to pretend in front of girls. You don't dare to pretend now, right?" Then he relied on the baboon process to replenish his blood and restore his superpowers, and used the fire cloud technique for the first time to defeat the Silver Lion, who had increased his superpowers. However, the fleet led by Jinshi could not defeat them without the Super Beasts. In the danger, Xin Yitzi used the Xuanwu to rescue the two. Afterwards, Xin Yitzi used Yuan Kongmi to seal the Lion King fleet in the metaspace, and Fei and the others also headed to the second parallel universe. Arriving at the second parallel universe, he first fought a draw with Dragon Spear, and then cooperated to fight against the Scorpion King. As expected, he was beaten for half of the 8th episode, and was finally rescued by the little fat boy. Later, in order to save Tianyu, who was captured, he chose to restrain the Scorpion King, and was beaten for the 3rd time without any surprise. "Fire Cloud you!" Huolin Fei shouted, and the energy in his hand gathered to form a blazing fireball. He threw it towards Long Ying fiercely, but Long Ying just jumped up and avoided Huolin Fei's fire cloud technique. "Wow, your supernatural power is not small." Long Ying's mouth curled up. Although she was praising Huolin Fei, the contempt in her eyes did not take Huolin Fei seriously at all. The next second, the two of them burst into battle, their hands clashing. Long Ying exerted force again, and powerful energy poured out, directly knocking Huolin Fei away and smashing heavily against the wall behind him. Even the stone wall was shattered. Huolin Fei fell to the ground in a mess and stood up with difficulty. Long Ying had already arrived in front of him, looking down at him from above. "Do you think you could defeat me with your current superpowers?" Doraemon Universe. The Mermaid King. I got beaten again. It looks like it hurts so much. Sophia looked at Huolin Fei, who was either being beaten or being beaten, and a trace of sympathy appeared in her clear eyes. This Huolinfi, so pitiful. Yeah, why does it feel like no one can beat this guy? Isn't he said to be very talented? Little Harry scratched his head, looking a little puzzled. If Huolinfi heard that a girl was sympathizing with him, he would probably be so ashamed that he would vomit blood. Post views. 41. Check out the title King Daxiong. All the characters in the world are Num Chapter 066, Chapter 66. Neither able to argue nor fight. The poor protagonists in the light curtain, even though Long Jian came to support, it was useless. After being beaten to low health by the Scorpion King, he was also beaten by the minions. Then the Blood State and Long Jian's energy complement each other and successfully enter the Super Beast Arm state. I thought it was full of vitality, but the Scorpion King's Super Beast came to serve wholeheartedly. Another round of friction. After combining with Long Jian, they finally tied. But the Scorpion King recovered faster than the other two, but luckily he was surprised by Long Jian's appearance and successfully killed him. Zombie World. Bai Xiaofei also felt a little sympathy for this Huolinfi. Although this Huolinfi can also use cheats, it is obvious that his strength is still not as good as the villain after using the cheats. He is really the most miserable protagonist. Now he understands why Huolinfi was called an experienced baby in the beginning. Even the soldiers can beat him up. Is this still the treatment of the protagonist? Aren't the protagonists all able to defeat the heavens, the earth, and the air in seconds? Once they can't win, they can just explode and kill them. Why does it seem that this Huolinfi is not like this? In a light curtain, then, I came to the third parallel universe again. I was originally dealing with the whale shark soldiers easily and happily, but I was almost killed by the stone pillar next to me. In the picture, Long Jian was defeated by his opponent and was knocked back by a punch, hitting the stone pillar next to Huolinfi heavily. Seeing this scene, Huolinfi laughed and said, "Long Jian, you are too weak, look at me." As he said this, Huolinfi took the initiative to attack and engage in battle with the enemy. After a while, the stone pillar that was hit by Long Jian suddenly broke and fell straight towards Huolinfi's position. Huolinfi turned his head and saw the stone pillar that was about to hit his head. He screamed in fear and squatted down with his head in his hands. Fortunately, the stone pillar was caught by someone and did not fall on Huolinfi. Otherwise, Huolinfi might have suffered a concussion before he even saw Hades. Episode 1320. Facing the stronger whale shark soldiers, Fei and Long Jian were beaten bloody again in episode 14. Terry stepped in to save the day. In the same episode, the whale shark king arrived and talked the three people into losing their fighting spirit. Later, in order to protect Tai Lei from returning to save his people, Fei Long Jian chose to fight against the whale shark king. Well, no surprises. Whether it is armed or super beast armed, they're all crushed at last. The game was saved thanks to Tian Yu's joining in the Super Beast God trio and Tai Lei's sneak attack from behind. But the Whale Shark King did not die, but was replaced by 3 Efilong Jian Tian Yu with residual blood. After finally recovering, the Ultra Beast God trio still can't win, and after the Whale Shark King broke up the trio, Huolinfi was beaten up alone. It was really pitiful. He is truly the chosen one. Super Beast World. Hey, what does this mean? Huolinfi was so angry that his face turned black, and he pointed at the light curtain with trembling fingers. It was clearly a trio, and all 3 of them had a share. So why was he the only one who was beaten after being beaten and disintegrated? Was it because his Ultra Beast armor was in the center position? At this time, Huolinfi felt a strong malice. Ha ha ha. There was another round of laughter around. This time, Huolinfi couldn't stand it anymore and quickly looked at Long Jian, who was still laughing. Long Jian, what are you laughing at? Didn't you see that you and I were both beaten in the picture? Your strength is not much different from mine. As soon as these words came out, Long Jian was silent. After all, his strength was really about the same as Huolinfi. Alien World, holy shit. The protagonists are so miserable. Zhang Chulan was stunned. It seemed that Huolinfi and his companions had a hard time beating every villain. Even if they had cheats, they were no match for those villains. And they were able to defeat the villain Scorpion King, which was largely due to luck. Su San nodded. It seems that the gap between Huolin Fei and his companion's strength and that of the Scorpion King and the Whale Shark King is quite large. No wonder they have been beaten all the time. This is not the most important thing. The most important thing is that, as the protagonist, he was actually made to lose his will to fight by the villain. And why haven't I felt the strength of Huolin Fei's talent until now? Susi took a puff of cigarette and spoke slowly. Nexus World. At this time, Ji Shizhuan was also paying attention to the video screen. When he saw Huolin Fei being beaten up by the villains again and again, he suddenly felt a sense of sympathy. Every time he fought with the supernatural beast, it was a fierce battle. Basically, every time he turned into Nexus, he would come back with some injuries. For him, basically, there is no battle that can be easily resolved, just like Huolin Fei and his team. And he even has to guard against the people of the Night Raid team. He has been hit by the firepower of the Night Raid team more than once. Thinking of the feeling of the advanced shells hitting him hard behind him, Ji Shizhuan couldn't help but shrink his body. It's not very comfortable. The picture on the screen continued to play after Long Jian gave his special energy to Ah Fei. They reunited, and, together with Tai Lei's sneak attack, they defeated the Whale Shark King. After 19 or 20 episodes, they defeated the Whale Shark King and faced the 7 Calabash brothers of the Cloud Bat Army. Although I got beaten up again in the early stages, I still won in the end. Came to the 4th parallel universe and fought with Night Owl, who had retained his strength. Although he won, there is nothing much to say. Then, facing Yulingyun, he was confused again. In episode 23, facing the all-out Night Owl, Fei was disturbed by the Bat Beast and could not control the beast, and was directly beaten into a state of
No more novels? Take part in the voting. The most requested novels and those with the most likes will be chosen for publication on euroaudiobooks.com. There, I can upload as much as I want without the risk of receiving a strike. Our 18 novels and other content that exceed what is morally acceptable are only published on Patreon or the free novels page. Remember, the site is funded by donations on Ko-fi and Patreon memberships.